Oh, it was delightful. I got home at about 20 to 5. It started at 2:30. Well, no, it started at 2:30, finished at 3. 3 to 7.
It's the, sorry, Rich.
Not during the summer.
All day on.
Fridays, because I'm like, just go. She lives in New so it's like, so she's got to get out there, and I'm like, yeah, by the time she get on the road, not listening to that.
I tell the guys who work like a lot. No meetings Monday, no. Before and after vacation or holiday, no meetings before or after. Okay. And Fridays in the summer, although you have to work, nobody else is. I got a call one time. When you get a call from somebody on Friday afternoon, you're in big trouble.
I know. It's like, we got to hire somebody, so you got to hire somebody. I got to feel that somebody's going to be in the office until 5 o'clock on a Friday. I go, who's babysitting at 5 o'clock on a Friday? Sadly, I'm still there. Most times I'm there for 5 o'clock, but I don't want to be babysitting.
No. I try to get out there. Question after one.
Can we ask him, bring it up for discussion?
Yeah, good to see if we want discussion.
You're not wrong.
I mean, this is the first time I'm just reading this.
I figured I was doing it.
We're kind of screwed.
Here you go. I know you don't like me.
I filed an application. Okay, that's right, that's not good.
I give one thumbs up.
Good evening. I'd like to call the June 10th, 2024 Borough Council meeting to order. Will the Deputy Clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231, PL 1975, specifying the date, time, and location by posting a copy of the notice on the municipal building, municipal website, and providing a copy of the annual notice schedule to the official newspapers of the borough and is on file at the clerk's office.
Will the Deputy Clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Here.
Councilman Collins.
Here.
Councilman Manco.
Here.
Councilman Poznanski.
Here.
Councilman Potter.
Here.
Councilman Zambrana.
Here.
Mayor Murray.
Here.
Borough Attorney Peter Vignola.
Present.
Borough Engineer Mike McClellan.
Present.
Borough Administrator Fred Carr.
Present.
Borough Clerk Monica Orlando.
Present.
Deputy Borough Clerk Mary Guiney, present.
Will everyone please stand for a moment of silence, which will be followed by the salute of the flag. At this time, I'd like to invite Milltown Fire Department to come up and give their presentation.
Good evening. The Milltown Fire Department is proud to once again be able to offer our annual scholarship designed to support the educational aspirations of our community's youth. The Milltown Fire Department Scholarship Program each year gives out 2 scholarships to a graduating senior from Milltown. This year, the committee received 11 applications, and the scholarship committee took in great consideration the applicant's grade point average, extracurricular activities, and essays. This year, the first year for the Foreman Elwood Boyce Scholarship, 3 years after the forming of the Milltown Fire Department, Elwood Boyce became foreman, the rank of chief today. In August 1914, the members of the Milltown Fire Department responded to a fire at the Parsons Snuff Mill near the current Farrington Dam in North Brunswick. After fighting the fire, Foreman Boyce drank contaminated water from the brook and 3 weeks later died from typhoid fever. Foreman Boyce was 31 years old and left behind a wife and a son. He was the first line of duty death in the Milltown Fire Department history. The winner of this year's Foreman Elwood Boyce Memorial Scholarship is Mason Batalla. Mason, come on up. All right. Mason will be receiving a scholarship in the amount of $1,250 to help him with his future college endeavors. Congratulations. All right, the second scholarship is the Lieutenant Charles Garbarini Memorial Scholarship. Lieutenant Charles Garbarini was a firefighter who faithfully served the Department of New York City until his tragic death on September 11, 2001. Lieutenant Garbarini died at the World Trade Center in a valiant attempt to save both lives and property. Lieutenant Garbarini left behind a wife and 2 sons. The Milltown Fire Department donates to various charities, including this scholarship, with money raised through the multiple fundraisers, including a golf outing held in the memory of Lieutenant Garbarini, which is next Monday, June 17th. This year's winner of the Lieutenant Charles Garbarini Memorial Scholarship is Caden Thomas. Caden, come on up. Caden will be receiving a scholarship of $1,000 to help him with his future college endeavors. Congratulations. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Kathy Beardsley to accept the proclamation. Whereas Kathy Beardsley, known to all as Kathy, has made Milltown Borough her home for moving with her family and young child, marrying her husband Bob and raising their family here. And whereas in 2005, Kathy began her career in Milltown as a Milltown Borough employee, working for the clerk's office as a vital statistics register, notary public, Board of Health Secretary, Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency Secretary, and whereas dedication to her professionalism and residence to the Borough of Milltown has made Kathy a highly valued employee, colleague, and mentor. And whereas Kathy will be missed both professionally and a friend to many, as displayed at the highest example of character, ethics, morals, unselfish service, and whereas retirement is a milestone that's significant, the peak of rewarding career and the beginning of a new chapter of life. And now, therefore, I, Mayor George Murray, on behalf of Borough Council, want to express my sincerest appreciation to Kathy Beardsley for her dedication to the Borough of Milltown, and wish her much happiness as she begins this exciting new chapter of her life.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
Now is the time for public comment limited to the resolutions on the agenda. If you wish to speak, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Again, this is the public portion is limited to the comments on the resolutions listed on the agenda at this time. If somebody would like to raise their hands, please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Henry Mertens, 156 Riva Avenue. This is regarding the water rate increase. We're looking at a 90% rate increase, and I understand that rates haven't been increasing since 2018. Just as some background, Middlesex Water Company just finished arguing their rate case, and it was just settled. It's looking at between 16 and 25% rate increase to the homeowner. Nowhere near 90%. If the Board of Public Utilities actually regulated Middletown's water utility, we'd be laughed out of the room at 90%. A couple questions. There are some other small utilities like South River. How many police employees and non-utility municipal employee payroll and benefits are paid out of funds raised by the water utility billing? We need to remember that legislation was passed by the state in the last 10 years that mandates that utility funds stay within the utility until all its liabilities are paid. For instance, South River takes 3 police officers' salary out of electric and 3 out of water. Based off New Jersey Water Watch, which I encourage every resident to be familiar with, in the period between 2017 and 2024, Middletown Water has been cited with 5 action level exceedances for lead contamination of the drinking water, 7 for the lead and copper rule violations, 2 E. coli violations, and 1 CCR report violation. Granted, the corrosion control plan and orthophosphate treatment system that the borough paid roughly $600,000 for is working. Considerably more effort needs to be made to make sure that we stay in compliance with all applicable drinking water regulations. There are a myriad of other programs I'm positive Middletown is not in compliance with, such as the valve exercising program, enhanced water quality parameters, the 50-year plan for water main replacement. This is no reflection on the borough employees within the utility. It's just a simple fact that there's too much work for 3 employees between utility markouts, water main breaks, water meter exchanges, pump station maintenance and repairs, on top of all the attention that the sewer department needs. I don't see anything in the budget for 2024 addressing the fact that to properly run the utility, the staffing levels would need to increase to roughly 8 persons. One of the conditions of Middletown's action level exceedance is that lead service lines need to be replaced. The New Jersey DEP clarified their positions on lead service lines and saddles the utility with the responsibility of removing all galvanized and lead service lines from service regardless of ownership. That part's crucial, regardless of ownership. Middletown has long held that the homeowner is responsible for the water service line from the water main into their home, excusing the utility for repairs or replacement. This no longer flies as of 2021. Using a rough estimate from service line composition and building age, utility would be responsible for 900 plus service lines from the main to the house. Cost of each replacement would be between $7,000 and $12,000, depending on road composition, length of the pipe run, with an estimated cost of $8.5 million. While legislation was passed to allow utilities to recover the costs, Middletown's done nothing. Either residents will have to pay almost $10,000 on average for their service line replacement through cost recovery back to the borough, or the utility is going to need to account for this massive project cost moving forward. There are funds available through the I-Bank, but the likelihood of Middletown receiving full forgiveness is slim because the average per capita income in town is higher than the I-Bank's usual threshold. None of this is accounted for in the rate increase. PFOAs, PFAS, and other regulated forever chemicals are going to be severely increasing our treatment costs. A large water utility in North Jersey just had a presentation in the Safe Drinking Water Act update. They've issued a $100 PFOA removal fee line item per service connection per quarter, and this utility is able to spread the costs out over tens of thousands of connections. The future costs will make a huge impact on our treatment rates for New Brunswick. This also doesn't seem to be accounted for and budgeted in the future forecast for the rate forecast. I'm not naive. I understand that infrastructure upgrades are only becoming more expensive, as is the rest of life for everyone here in Middletown, but the utility needs a better plan. Nearly 100% increase now, and insufficient funding being set aside for current and future statutory obligations will only cause more near 100% rate increases in the future. Where does it end? Without proper guidance and advocacy, ratepayers could very easily end up paying $400 a quarter for their base rate. The Borough Council owes it to the residents to form a civilian oversight board for the utilities, like many other municipalities, in order to continue to monitor the fiscal viability, compliance regulations, budgeting, and capital improvement plans, as well as rate analysis and recommendations for the utility. The easiest way to make sure that we don't end up in this position again is to make sure that the borough's ratepayers are actively monitoring elected officials and borough employees charged with day-to-day utility operation. This shouldn't be a political item. The utility is going to cost a boatload of money, and unless you start allocating those funds correctly, we're screwed. I mean, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars, and the maximum that you can do for cost recovery is 4 years. If you saddle a homeowner, even if the borough passes cost recovery on these lead service lines, if you saddle a homeowner with an additional $2,000 a year on top of the property tax hits that everybody just took, we're at a point where the utility needs to seriously figure out what it's doing, and it needs a civilian oversight board because, and it's no dig on any council members. No council member or any member of any governing body is going to want to pass a utility rate increase on an election year. It's just not going to work. But without a civilian oversight board who's going to force that smaller incremental increase instead of 100% increases or 90% increases, we're in the weeds. That's it.
Sir, what's your name and address?
Henry Mertens, 156 Riva Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe. Hang on, wait, Dorian. Come on, Joe.
No, she can go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dorian Kerber, 24 Riva Avenue. Yes, he is correct. We had in the past a survey about lead lines, what your faucets look like and such. We have about 8.5 more years or 7.5 more years to really come up with a plan and implement that. The whole premise of the state always passing and updating these plans is to include your nonprofits, your churches, your businesses, your residents, and of course the administration. It's not just a one-size-fits-all situation, but you also have to have an outside company, a planning company, to encourage this. It shouldn't be just the planner either. That's why the state keeps mandating these processes. That's why I'm part of the process. And so was Rutgers University, so is Jersey Waterworks, which is your state committee. That's been talking about this for years. More stuff's coming down the pipeline, especially for your HOAs, to be more green infrastructure focus. We're flooding and flooding and flooding. And not only that, our infrastructure is the oldest, one of the oldest, I think, within the nation. Lining is one process, but replacing things are more important. Because the more you just reline and not replace, it's got to be a plan. It's got to be a financial plan. I mean, the previous administration, what was your plan? I'd like to know. Did you have a plan that started? Any discussion about, at this point, where we are with the rates? Councilman Zambrano, you were the finance chair. Did you ever discuss a plan within?
Yeah, we always had a plan in place.
But I noticed that we also took the surplus, and I heard that, I guess, it's COVID money that we had?
We did.
Balanced the budget.
We did.
But now we don't have
And I
anything,
think if you were in
correct?
my position last year, you would have done the same thing. Instead of passing on an increase like that to the residents, we had the opportunity to use that money, and so that's what we did. And I do believe other members of the council were on here, and I didn't see anybody vote against that budget. Everyone kind of knew what was happening. So it's not anything that was hidden, it's not anything that was done in secret.
And that was done in the presentation as well?
Of course.
Okay. But like I said, you need an outside company or a nonprofit to steer this overall within the town. That's the whole premise of the updates. And that's very important. Because now we're here again at the same situation. Planning is really important, and then implementation is the next step. There's a lot to do in this town. I realize that. But there's also got to be a real plan, a discussion amongst whoever you are. Doesn't matter. When you're all up there, you represent all of us, not your party, not just your friends and your neighbors. You represent the whole town. And that's what my focus was usually always and still is. I've done a lot of work outside of council work since I was on council in other towns because I just go and get it done. There's a lot of things that need to be accomplished in other towns as well. Fortunately, Middlesex County Middlesex Water Company and New Jersey American Water, they're replacing the lead lines. They're fortunate. Of course, they have a bigger salary, bigger profit margin, and it's their customers already, so they're doing it at no cost to the clients. The plan is also to make sure you hire someone that's local, so that there is a good price overall, whatever it may be, so that we get the whole count, whatever it is, 300, or whatever, 250, then we get a company that comes in to give us the price for everyone. As we rip up the roadways, you replace the pipe, and it's a fairer price than everyone getting their own company. That's not what the law is about. It's to go with the company that's going to come in to take care of everyone, because we have to do it. And we have about 7.5 more years. But the plan has to be there in place first.
I'd like to ask when people come up here to please limit yourself to 5 minutes. That's the standard in town, and we have a lot of people here tonight, so please abide by that.
Joe Piatanza, 15 Bruce Court. Thanks for letting me speak to you guys. 90%. 90%. You're chasing seniors and single payers out of town. I'm going to be a senior in a couple of years. I still work. I can afford it. But if I had no job and a fixed income, I'd be looking to sell my house, and I don't want to do that. You guys have got to get your heads together, please, and find a way. Find a way to lower what's being proposed. I get it. I get we haven't had an increase in 6 years. I get it. The costs have gone up, infrastructure's failing. We all understand that. But 90%? Yeah, first thing I did when I saw it, I thought of senior citizens. How can you be doing that to seniors? They want to stay here. They can sell their house and make a nice profit, but where are they going to go? Please, think about the seniors. Think about the single payers. Think about doing the right thing. And 90% is not the right thing. Thank you.
Art Simons, 308 Northbrook Drive. Continuing on with Joe's thought about senior citizens, why was the minimum raised from 6,000 to 7,500 gallons, number one? As a single-family home, and just my wife and myself, last year, January's bill was 45, April was 30, July was 71, summer water. October was 48. January this year was 40. April was 21. It's been on the burden of not only me, I can afford it, but all the senior citizens in this town that are single people to take and have us, this group of people, subsidize the heavy users, which is totally unfair. Years ago, I believe, when I first came to this town in '78, they had an adjusted sewer rate for the summer. That doesn't happen anymore. Sewer rates are, I hear stories of people paying $2,000 and $3,000 for a water bill in July and August when their usage doesn't go up. It's in their pool or on their lawns. It doesn't go to the sewer authority. Where's that money going? We didn't pay bill sewer authority, did we? It's just ridiculous. Is our water sewage, or is our water coming from New Brunswick, pure when it comes here? Or are we paying exorbitant amounts to clean it up? What standard do we hold New Brunswick to, or water source? It can't go on, gentlemen, because you're killing the seniors in this town. Thank you.
Mr. McClung, quick question for you.
Sure.
Roughly how many lead services do we have in Milltown remaining?
The water utility has counted them. I think the last count was about 100.
100? Okay, thank you.
Henry Mertens, 156 Riva Avenue. Mike, that's lead or including galvanized?
The various lead, yeah.
What about galvanized included?
Galvanized's going to be a little more because,
My entire neighborhood, the entire north side of town is going to be galvanized.
that's right. There could be an awful lot of galvanized in town.
So and I'm not trying to nail you down about lead, but the DEP regulates galvanized the same way that they're lead with
That's
the removal
correct.
now. So we're talking, we could conceivably be looking at 900 or 1,000 galvanized service line, between galvanized and lead across the town, up through the Main Street corridor, all the old section up by Elkins Lane.
I'm not sure.
Or Ford
You know,
Avenue.
We'd have to check that out. Well, for example, we did some work on Riva not too long ago, which is all concrete.
But it's still galvanized on the curb stop side. They didn't go copper all the way in.
But the point is that from the main to the curb shop was
Yeah,
copper.
yeah.
But, you know, and they don't normally change from one to the other there. Some may have. But,
Yeah.
So you don't really, it's hard to draw a conclusion without looking at it. When the utility department went out, they looked for lead. The galvanized lines was something added when the legislation.
Yeah. Now, I mean, that stuff was due in 2021
That's correct.
to be regulatory compliant.
May I for a second? Mike, when we sent the surveys out a few years ago, we asked everyone to identify, this is when we first had a lot of those high lead readings.
Yeah,
and put in
for the L,
anti-corrosion
yeah.
inhibitor. When we sent those surveys out, I remember there was an indicator, like rub something on your service pipe in your basement by your meter, determine what it was. Do we have the numbers from those to show how many were galvanized? Did it have a spot to indicate galvanized, or was it just lead?
It was just lead at the time. Galvanized was added when the legislation got passed.
Yeah.
Fairly recent.
And when was, and that was 2021, you said?
2021 was the
Right.
galvanized. And that's the big concern for me is when the state changes, this all ties into the rate case, because you have to remove all this stuff by 2031, the state says, I don't care who owns it, you're pulling it out, you can do cost recovery, you can figure it out your own way. But are we looking at 3 or 4 more 100% increases over the next 5 years to because the longer we wait on these lead and galvanized replacements, the more it's going to cost per house, and you have to do more per year to remain in compliance. So, yeah, that's it. That was my only other question about the galvanized versus lead for Mike.
Councilman Potter, do you know, have we gone out and done more of those? I know you were on utilities last year. Have we done more of the surveys?
Not that I know of. They had it, and I know the water sewer department collected it, and I believe they have all the information there. When Jeanette was the BA, she said she had all that information.
Would you be able to follow up with water?
No, I think John should do it. He's the head of utilities.
Oh.
John Collins should do it. Councilman Collins.
Councilman Collins, can you follow up with the head of
Sure,
the
no problem.
water department, please?
Can everybody just move their mics a little bit closer so it's not coming over the report? Thank you.
No other questions?
I want to say one more thing. We all live here, and none of us like what we see here either. And we don't, no, please, you don't speak when someone's speaking up here? None of us want to hurt any of you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting. The minutes for the April 29, 2024 special executive meeting, executive session are on the agenda for approval. Are there any comments or corrections? Seeing none, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as typed?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, seconded by Council President Revlinsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The minutes for May 28, 2024 meeting are on the agenda for approval. Are there any comments or corrections? Can you please silence your phones? Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the meetings to the minutes as typed?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Collins, seconded by Council President Revlinsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Ordinance introductions. This is an introduction to ordinance 24-1539. There will be no public input on this ordinance tonight. The introduction summary will be published as required by law. A second reading, public hearing, and the final adoption will be considered on June 24th, 2024. Full copies of the ordinance will be posted on the Borough website, on the bulletin board at the municipal building, and available at no cost in the office of the municipal clerk between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. on Fridays. Will the deputy clerk please read ordinance 24-1539 by title only?
Ordinance 24-1539, ordinance to add Chapter 15, Building and Housing, Article 11, Residential Lead Paint Testing of revised general ordinances of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, to include a policy requiring lead-based paint testing for residential rental properties within the Borough of Milltown.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 24-1539?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Revlinsky, seconded by Councilman Potter. Does council have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is mandated by the state, is that correct? So we really don't have a lot of wiggle room on this.
Okay, will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revlinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Mako.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
A second reading and public hearing on this ordinance will take place on June 24th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in council chambers. This is the introduction of ordinance 24-1540. There will be no public input on this ordinance tonight. The introduction summary will be published as required by law, and second reading, public hearing on the final adoption will be considered on June 24th, 2024. Full copies of this ordinance will be posted on the Borough website, on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and available at no cost in the office of the municipal clerk between the hours of 8 a.m., 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. on Fridays. Will the deputy clerk please read ordinance 24-1540 by title only?
Ordinance 24-1540, ordinance to amend Chapter 25, Water Section 25-4.1, water rates of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Milltown.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 24-1540?
So moved. Seriously? You guys know the deal.
I believe we should have a discussion first.
Can we open this
Go
for
into a
discussion?
Yeah, I believe we should have a discussion before we go into an adoption.
It's introduction.
It's introduction.
Sure.
It's a council member, it's introduction.
So we still can't discuss it?
It's traditional, if I may, that you have a second and then you can chat all you want.
No, because then we have a motion to adopt.
No,
And then
that's,
we
adoption is
introduce.
24.
Okay.
This is for introduction only. If the motion fails, the motion fails.
Everyone here realizes that if you do not adopt the water sewer rates.
So I will
there is
second
no
this.
budget, right?
I will second this.
Thank you.
Okay?
Councilman
In order to
Zambrana.
move this along.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can have a discussion as to how we arrived at these rates on this document, which I just received this weekend, and I do not understand.
So allow me to enlighten everyone, and thank you everyone for coming down this evening. The rates are not pretty. As Councilman Poznanski said earlier, we're residents. We have absolutely no desire to do this, other than the fact that we have to. As the gentleman who stood up earlier and said, no elected official would want to do this, well, you're looking at him. The last thing we want to do is charge our residents more money for anything. Unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that right now we are halfway through our fiscal year, right? We go January to December. And right now there is a budget shortfall in the water sewer fund of about $340,000. So, how do we make that up and guarantee we make up the money? If I add it to the dollars per gallon and everyone decides not to water their lawns, we don't make up the money. So what you have in front of you tonight, and why I think most of you have come down, is we added that money to the minimum. Now, it should be about $132. What you see is a $150 increase. The reason for that, 88% collection rate. So if you assume only 88% of the money is paid by folks maybe like yourselves or unlike yourselves who are not paying their water bills, we have to balance the budget on that. So we need $350,000 based on 88%. What that comes out to is a $150 increase. The reason that it's on the agenda this way, or the ordinance this way, is because our billing systems don't allow us, as they are set up now, to send out a one-time fee of $150. So what we had to do was put it into the rates. So the rates increase $150. That is also because of the fact that right now we only have 6 months to make the money up. So over the next 3 months, 1/3 of the town will get billed each month. Okay, so what that means is by September, everyone will have gotten their bill, and hopefully everyone will have paid the $150. That gets us the $350 to balance the budget. Why we arrived here is not from the last administration, or the one before that, or the one before that. It's a culmination of years of trying to appease the residents and keep rates down, and ignoring many of the issues, just like the gentleman stood up and said earlier. We are staring at a massive amount of money that will need to be spent to maintain our system. We've done some great things already. We've gotten many grants from the state that have helped improve the water quality through cleaning and lining. We've gotten a lot of folks that have already replaced their lead services. Of course, now we have to look at galvanized. Right? We've done water main work. We have repairs coming in. We discussed at the utility meeting the other night, $2 million in grant money. That will go to replace, most likely, a water line underneath the New Jersey Turnpike that's been broken for 2 years. We are a small town. We've got aging infrastructure that is extremely old, and the cost of construction is very high. And unfortunately, without ratables and big businesses to push it off to, it's borne by all of us, the residents. One thing we've noticed when we're looking at these numbers is we have 2,604 water meters in town. And as the one gentleman pointed out earlier, it's not fair to the senior citizens, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Because if there's an apartment building or a 2-family or a 3-family home with 1 meter, the residents in each one of those units are not paying their fair share. Right? You can have a 1-bedroom apartment building with 2 people in it, and they don't have a meter, but yet you can have a senior citizen in his home with him and his wife paying for the meter, paying the minimum fee. That's not right. We need to look at how to get everybody in town paying as if they were their own unit, which means the apartments, when Acme is built, we're looking at 200 units. When Ford Avenue is built, we're looking at 350. That's a 20% increase in the number of people paying the minimum. But that's not on the books yet. We're getting there. Over the next 3 months, we plan to fully work through these numbers so that not only are we not staring at a massive increase next year, but we're planning and we're getting everyone equally, because that's what's fair. I want to do away with the tier system, because I don't think it's fair that the people who get billed for the 3 hottest months of the summer get billed in one cycle. Because surely you're going to get more people going over that 7,500 gallon minimum. Right? Right now, that's not the case. We are working towards getting these rates where they need to be financially stable. One other issue, we're seeing a 3.5% increase from the city of New Brunswick on our purchase of water costs. Purchase of water, that's 3.5% every year for the next 5 years. That was the rates they mandated to us last year and were adopted. Right now, our ordinance does not require this council or this body to increase the rates when our costs increase, which is insane. How can we not routinely increase 3.5% when our water provider is increasing the cost of the borough of Milltown 3.5%? It's this type of foolish approach that has led us to where we are today. Keep the rates down, let's all look good up here and try and say we're saving the residents money, but you know what, in the end, it's costing you more. If you compare water to a gallon of milk. 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a gallon of milk was $3, right? If it was $3 up until today, and suddenly it was $5 at the grocery store, you'd be outraged. But what did it go to? $3.13, $3.25, $3.60, little by little, right? An increase you can accept, you can come to accept and live with. We haven't done that. And that's why, while it's not 90% per se, right? The goal here is to make up $350,000. That's where we are today. And it doesn't include all the increased costs in the future. Not by a long shot. We don't even fund a lot of improvements in this town with our own money. We hope to get grant money from the state. Why? Because we're hoping that we can try to avoid the increase to the residents. But you know what? That logic doesn't work. And for at least 2 times, I've proposed that we look into privatizing the water. And the reason for that, you look at New Jersey American with a few million customers. They can afford that increase with a nominal increase to us. They can afford the cost to do improvements to the borough's system, right? Middlesex Water Company just went up 25%. They've probably got close to 1 million customers to spread those costs of improvements amongst. We've got 2,604 metered customers to say, I'm sorry, but you got to pony up. And until we fix that problem, we're going to be here every couple of years doing the same thing. And the goal of this administration, I believe, and everyone up here, is to do the right thing, not just for today, and not just by November 6th or 7th or whatever the voting day is, but for the future, so we're not up here constantly. So while this ordinance introduction right now does have a high increase, understand it is to generate the necessary revenue this year that needs to be collected by December. And over the next 3 months, I propose we work on an ordinance for the water sewer rates that is not only fair to the rest of the residents in town and includes certain costs, but also anticipates what our operations are going to be next year. Now, last year we were lucky enough to get $320,000 in COVID relief funds. We balanced the water sewer budget, right? We don't want to pass it on to the residents. We had the opportunity, we used it. I get it, makes sense. The problem is, where's that money today? Now I got to make it up with a drastic increase, right? Last year we've hired new employees in the water sewer department who are helping fix breaks, water main breaks internally so we don't have to go out to contract. Great move. Well, guess what? Those employees cost money. The materials they use cost money. A break is still a break, it still costs money. We might be paying less for it. These are all great things that we've done along the way to try to curtail the increased costs. But the fact of the matter is, the costs are coming, and they continue to come. So we're going to do everything we can here to make sure, number one, the budget, or the borough has the money it needs to operate and still provide services to the residents, and number two, to do our best to plan for the future. So with that being said, and I welcome any other comments from the rest of the council.
Councilman Revelinsky, can you tell us the past 5 years what the rate increase has been from New Brunswick?
0. New Brunswick has not, our last contract with New Brunswick, I don't believe, had any rate increase in water and sewer costs. And actually, the gentleman asked earlier, he commented about sewer rates, why we can't do like an estimated rate in the summer. Our agreement with the city of New Brunswick is every gallon of water we buy, we pay for pumping them a gallon of sewage. That's why we can't water our lawns without charging for sewer. There's no way to do it. In fact, the city of New Brunswick has often brought to this council's attention that we flush more down the drain, whether it's through gutters or sump pumps or however it may be, leaking pipes. More goes down the drain than we buy from them. And they've said, you owe us money. And you know what we told them? Sorry, read the agreement. Because we're not about to fork over money to the city of New Brunswick that A, we don't have, and B, will come at a cost to our residents. But you know what? It's coming. We've got 100-year-old pipes in this town. We've got manholes made of brick that haven't been lined and cleaned. All that leads to increased costs of operation, increased costs of treatment at Middlesex County, where all the sewer flows. We're a small town, and we've got a lot of work to do, and unfortunately, the only thing to pay for it is us, the residents. So I'm sorry if it hurts. I'm sorry if, you're upset about this. You should be. But unfortunately, there's really no way around it at this time, unless we start putting our thinking caps on and look for creative solutions. And I'm all ears. Please, call, come down, bring your ideas to us often. Give us your thoughts. Because other than raising rates, I don't know where we're going to get the money.
Well, this isn't political because last year how they balanced the budget and they used the COVID funds, I think if it was us last year, we would have done the same thing because we try to watch out for the people in town. We live here, and there's nobody that's trying to sneak something over on anyone. So even though we run on different sides, when we're up here, we try to think alike to the betterment of the people in town. No one is trying to take advantage here. It's a lot of things aren't fair. You started at Washington on down. This is different here. Come to meetings, please. Watch meetings from home. Come to meetings here. Please get involved. Please be involved. We all appreciate you coming here tonight. Stay involved.
I do have a question. I'm looking at these two ordinances. You were saying the whole time, Council President Evelinsky, that we need the shortfall for the money, but the rates are going up, but are they gonna come down after we get the money, or are they gonna stay at the same rate? Because if they do, I'm not gonna approve this.
What we have to do is we have to sit as Finance Committee, which you're on, Councilman Potter and Councilman Collins, and Utilities, which Councilman Potter and Councilman Collins are on. We need to sit over the next 3 months and come up with a rate structure that works. We needed $320,000 last year. We got it in COVID. We need $350 this year. We're getting it with this rate increase. Next year, what we're looking at, what I predict, is probably over $400,000. So for it all to come off, how are we going to fund that? We need to think about how to address the issue long term. And not for nothing, this is the first year of the new 5-year rates from New Brunswick, in which we're going up 3.5% compared to last year. So these are all things we need to consider, and we need to work to a plan that is A, fair to the residents, and B, ensures the financial viability of the borough. Or C, finally truly entertain outsourcing our water system and privatizing it. Because it only falls on one group, and that is the residents of this town. Those are the decisions we have in front of us. And look, I've been up here 6 years. There's a little gap in between. We faced the same thing 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Caught hell for it. 10% one year, knew next year was going to be a lot. Halfway through the year, 40%, as they say, right? Again, $300,000 we had to make up. We didn't create the problem, folks. We're inheriting it, for the most part. All of us up here. And we're doing our best. So if you've got an idea and you've got a solution, bring it on down. But otherwise, I'm sorry. We don't really have an alternate solution. We don't have any more developments. We don't have any more buildings going up, and the ones that do, well, heck, if we don't put a meter in each one of them and bill those as individuals, the cost is going right back to us. The same 2,604 units in town.
Generally, the can gets kicked down the road. Each administration does not want to burden the people in the town until we get to a point like where we're at right now. And it's not pretty, but this needs to be addressed right now.
I was under the impression, though, based on a conversation you and I had, Councilman Revelinsky, that there would be a surcharge.
Yes.
For the period of July through December, $150, and I think that was something that I think the residents would not balk at. Temporary.
To make up the shortfall.
To make up the shortfall.
So this.
But we're saying that we can't do that because our billing system can't?
So this essentially, good question. So this essentially is that surcharge.
But
Okay, it's $150 right now.
But it's not, but it doesn't say temporary.
90%
It doesn't say temporary, it doesn't say surcharge.
Because that should force all of us to work towards revising this ordinance and doing it right by September.
I say
If we did that-
$150 surcharge, we put that in there, and then
Well, number one, hold on. Number one, if we do a $150 surcharge, that does not get out of the same situation we're gonna face next year.
But then, like you said, we have time to figure it out. You're looking at
But-
these rates, people are gonna start not using their water. And
No.
we're not gonna, you said there's an 88%.
We didn't touch the dollars per gallon. The dollars per gallon have not changed, so stop flushing the toilet, pee in a bucket, doesn't matter, you still gotta get it. And the reason we did that is because we need $350,000.
If I may, I'm sorry, it seems, because I'm with you, and I do get this stopgap, and I do see historically, this seems to happen repeatedly. I understand your concern about it being temporary. My concern becomes then, or the thought process I have is that if the new year starts and we don't sign something in right away, anything we do sign reaches that same point where you have less of a year to accrue that money, and the rate becomes that much more painful, intolerable, all the words that we've repeatedly, that Milltown's synonymous with. It is an ongoing problem, a long time. And it was a poor practice that started many years before this. I don't like it. I do see where, as a means to an end, and maybe this forces action by the end of the year, that we can try and enact that we have a smooth transition into a new policy. And we need to present something. You know, we're doing this, we put a Band-Aid on it, but I do think we need to treat the real cause. And I think that's been said before. And, again, something that mandates, every time I get the math on it, that every time we get that 3.5% raise and we don't immediately raise the rate, it becomes less of a year to recover that. So that if I wait on going up 3%, now I got 6 months, congratulations, it's 5.5%. And that happens in a really quick time. And in the span of 3 meetings where nothing gets passed, you're almost into a quarter. So we got to get ahead of it as a council, as a utility authority. We have to. And if it's just the beginning of a lot of long-term problems. But again, as Chairman Daines was saying before, I mean, the lead part, all of these things, if we don't come up with a plan that addresses our year-to-year, probably mandates that 3.5% happens without us doing anything. It's got to be. It's really not a choice we have. And to err on that is a poor choice in itself. But I do think we owe the town for doing this. But we do have to come up with something.
I was also under the impression at the Youth and Government meeting when you said that there would be some sort of presentation. But there's no presentation, this is it.
We've worked over the last several weeks to come up with a plan. The plan was initially to get rid of the tier system in order to make it fair, dollars per gallon, fair across the board, regardless of how much you use. Because if you're caught in that period of the 3 hottest months, there's no reason you should pay more dollars per gallon than someone else, right? We talked about creating a base cost that covers all of our operational costs. We talked about including language in ordinance to make sure that every unit in an apartment building was billed as if it was its own meter. Whether or not that person installed its own meter or the landlord decided to install meters in each one, there was so much going into that ordinance that it wouldn't pass in time. It was too complex, too much overhaul to get done in time. And right now, the reason it's being introduced tonight is because we need to adopt this in order to introduce the budget. We're at a cap right now of $34 left in the draft budget. $34. And that comes as a result of staying cheap for years, not funding the necessary things. We've got these employees, but we didn't budget for some of the things that were promised to them. We need trucks. You know, how can you fix a water main break if you don't have the pickup truck and the tools to do it? Well, we gotta buy it. You know what a truck costs these days? $76,000, $90,000. Now, pre-COVID, that might have been 50, but we keep kicking that can down the road. Get another year out of the truck, right? Try and hold off. Don't put it on the residents.
But you're not talking about the 2 trucks that are coming down later on the agenda.
No, we've got 2 trucks. These ones were bought last year, right? Or we
Exactly.
agreed to buy them last year, and now,
In the capital plan.
right,
So
and
that was a plan.
and Ford said you can buy one.
Exactly.
And now we're finally able to buy it, and what happened? The truck's more money than it was last year.
But again, that was a plan that's really there. And I hope somebody can tell me the difference between what was the number last year and what it is now. Obviously, it's gonna be a little bit higher, but, one question, with the water and sewer rates, was there ever any discussion about, decreasing costs?
All things that we have to look at. Right now, we're looking at what was spent last year, and what was spent last year, we're $350,000 short. And that's because, as you know, we filled that hole with COVID money.
So personnel is not on the.
I don't know where we're gonna cut $350,000 in personnel when we only have 3 people in the department.
We actually have 4 people in the department.
Okay, well, again, what are we gonna go down to 1 person and try
I
and?
know, but.
I mean,
you know,
it's impossible.
It's like my job, right? So, you know, last week, 25% of my company was laid off. And what does my boss tell me? What does my CEO tell me?
Work harder.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, so I have to come back to ask this question again. We have to raise the minimum because our software
Yep.
can't.
Yeah, so
But we have,
Edmunds, as you know, the software that we utilize for billing, would have to write a special program in order to send out a one-time bill to everyone for the surcharge.
We could not do that.
Well,
in
it
the
has to be
office.
tied into the Edmunds software because since the borough owns its water and sewer utility, it's tied to taxes. So if you don't pay your water bills, many of you might know, if you ever got a threatening letter, that it's going to tax sale. That's tax sale for not paying your utility bill. It seems very illogical, but it's because it's borough-owned. So all of that data, all of that information has to be tied into there, and then the interest, right? So what we wanted to do is get this out here as soon as possible, make everyone aware that we're expecting another $150 out of these 2,604 metered customers, right? And give you the time to budget for that. You got 6 months, I mean, that's $25 a month to come up with, to say, hey, by the end of the year, I'm gonna pay that money, I'm gonna do what's right, and the town's gonna have the $350 it needs to balance the budget. And in the meantime, it's on us, all of us up here, to work on developing a plan, a financial plan for next year's anticipated costs.
Did our part-time CFO come up with these rates?
Yes, he's reviewed those, yeah.
He came up with the rates.
Yep, they were presented to me with both of our auditor as well as the CFO. And they verified this is what.
Why the auditor?
Because the auditor looks at the numbers. In fact, last year in October, when we had the audit of the 2022 budget, I asked the auditor, I was called in, I said, given the fact that we've decreased our surplus over the last 4 years and not raised rates, are we looking at a rate increase? He refused to answer the question.
Your current auditor or the last auditor?
Last year's auditor.
Okay.
Would not answer that question. Didn't want to put his money where his mouth is, because I think we all knew.
We did.
And we weren't trying to make
did.
anyone look bad. It's just,
No, we did.
Yeah,
And-
they're gonna have to go
and
up.
And if I remember correctly, it was gonna be somewhere in the range of like 3 to 5%, but not this number.
well, right now, again, if we ignore the percentage and focus on the actual dollars needed, it's $350,000, right? So what it equates to in regards to percent is irrelevant. It could be 2,000%, could be 5%. We've got 6 months to make it up. So that's why it had to be done in 6 months to make up $350,000, which isn't much more than the amount of money that was used last year from a government handout to balance the budget. If we did it last year, for example, if we raised it 5% last year, maybe we could get away with the 5% this year, since we'd have 24 months to start generating that revenue. But right now, we got 6. It's just unfortunately what we inherited. And, you know, if we were deceived by previous folks, or, you know, we didn't know what questions to ask, whatever the case may be, this is where we are today. And I don't blame anyone else up here, I don't blame any of us up here, right? We're all doing our best, but it's where we are today.
I want to say, people that are blaming us for hurting senior citizens, I'm a liaison to the senior club, to the senior center, and I will be meeting with those people, and they'll want to know all about this. But also at the same time, I'll say, any of those people that think that way, put your name on the line, run for office, get elected like everyone up here, and do better than us.
Mr. Mayor, do you think we can hear from our auditor about this? Is there anything you have to add? Is there anything you would have to add?
Clarify a couple things that I
You
heard.
go,
I don't know if you want.
Jared, the microphone.
Mike, just, I listened to everyone here. I was involved in verifying the calculations in conjunction with the CFO, who I have worked closely with for a long time, okay, in either working for me or working in another community where I'm also the auditor. A couple things need to be clarified, though. It is about $344,000, okay? And it's going to be billed on October 1 for that particular cycle, and then November 1 and December 1. So there's a 90-day lag between potential adoption and when the cash flow is going to be required. But the bottom line is, in the end, when all the smoke clears, we need $344,000 more. The draft budget that the CFO prepared, that we verified, has maximized every revenue item possible, okay? It could have been more, okay? And I think, yes, the rates need to be addressed probably in September, okay?
Adopted or introduced in September.
Introduced and adopted for consumption beginning October 1. So, going back to 2018, when it was 300,000, 30%, had it been done on January 1st, it would have been only 15%. If the percent doesn't matter, we need approximate $1,000 more. And yeah, Phil, I do verify numbers in these rate increases for all the clients that I work on, so I have a little more intimate knowledge than most people do, and that's just part of what I do. So really, I mean, we're close to. We have to move on this because time is of the essence, okay? Because of adopting our budget. And like you said, we need to generate X amount of dollars by December 31st. Doesn't matter how we do it. And speaking to the tax collector, we felt, last week it was cumbersome to cut a separate surcharge bill. The computerization charges, the postage, the software, the paper, all that stuff would have been, God only knows, it could have been $10,000, $15,000. And I know Fred, I believe, had some conversations with her as well. And then we came down to a final decision, I think sometime on Thursday. We did have legal review, okay? And in the end, this was the best solution to get to where we want to get to. And it's only temporary, okay? And for the, it's not.
It's not temporary because it doesn't say it's temporary. That's my problem.
Well, no, it's temporary. Well,
it's temporary if it says
it's temporary.
in
The
the
reality
document.
is that's designed to get us through this fiscal year. And you're right. It is designed to get us through this fiscal year. Okay, it's too early in the process to do a 2025 budget. So yeah, in effect, Phil, it is temporary because we need to get through this year. So we need to get it adopted so we can get our budget moved.
I don't want to continue to argue this point. I get it.
No, I got you.
I get it. But did the delay in finding our CFO contribute to this issue?
No, we needed the money anyway. Whether we had a CFO in January or a CFO in March or April.
But if you had a CFO in January, you'd have 12 months.
Right.
Now you only got 6.
Well, if
But
we
we
had
started
one in
out the
January,
year.
we'd still have to do the introduction and adoption and run through the numbers.
Yeah.
We
But
started,
we still need
Looking at
350
making up
grand
$350,000 or $344.
in 6 months.
based on being short last year with a shortfall that we filled the gap with COVID money, we started out this year owing the $350,000. So, I mean,
And in the
time to
draft,
get in front of this.
in the draft
was
budget that
fast.
was utilized, there is some leftover COVID money being used that will not be here next year. About 130 grand or thereabouts. So we're using every possible revenue source that we can. There was 130-some thousand.
And so thank you for saying that, because that's what I want to hear, and I expected to see that in a presentation so that I could see, hey, this kind of makes sense. And then I find out, oh yeah, it's going to be a surcharge. But then I get this over the weekend, there's no surcharge.
No, we went there, we evaluated it,
I know,
and
but the minimum went up, it's not temporary.
It is temporary if we
Could be.
indeed enact a new
it was
plan.
the most legal, appropriate way we could get to where we needed to get to. Bottom line. Okay, that's really what it is, Phil.
If the wording, and I understand what you're saying, there's no guarantee that it's temporary, other than the fact that we need to address this problem with a new plan. That's what will make it temporary.
Yep.
But, but the presentation of a lasting solution is what makes this temporary. We have to stop the old habit, start the new habit. You can pay off a credit card, that doesn't mean it stays paid off. You have to do the next step. And I think it's clear that the council we need to do our best to address it. And it may not be the most, it was expressed to me that a service call for a water main, whatever dollar amount when you want to put on fixing that, whenever it happens, depending if it happens on a Wednesday, on a quiet street, the cost of fixing that on a Saturday in cold weather, where they mostly happen, is a dramatic difference in that cost. And the cost of that service, if that cost $8,000 you didn't have specifically laid out in the budget, well, if you divide that by the 2,604 meters, when you think about that, that's what people are paying for that. The idea of adding better meters, more meters in rental places, in rental facilities, in perhaps businesses that a building may have 1 meter for 3 businesses, that spreads out that cost of that $80,000 so that if everybody's paying $40 for that or $400 for that, if you add to the 2604 number, that incidental cost for each of those actions becomes less for each person. And I can imagine my head trying to get around all of the numbers and all the things that fall into that. That's not my job. That's an actuary, an auditor, a CFO, a bunch of people. And I can see how we haven't been able to come up with that in this shorter window. And this stopgap is unappetizing, clearly. But it is, if you've ever been, like in a war movie or something where you're cut and there's nothing you can do about it, they heat up a blade, they stick it on your arm, and it stops the infection from setting in, and you go on to live to fight another day. And that's what I feel this is. It's not good. It simply is what it is at this point. It saddens me that it's here.
I'll add just one more quick comment, because before the meeting started, I ran some numbers. Assuming 200 units over at Acme and 350 units in Ford Avenue, our increase this time around, if we divided it up amongst all of them, would be $125 instead of $150. So it's still there. We're still looking at the increase. Right now, we're sitting on $100,000 worth of brand-new digital water meters, where when they're all installed, we can press a button, and we're not paying for a meter reader to go around. Right? Great investment. Digital meters. Decrease your billing costs, decrease your meter reading costs. We don't have the labor to install them. They're sitting right now. We bought them last year, $100,000 worth of meters. Don't have the labor to install them.
I don't think you're ever gonna have the labor to install them, that's why you get a third party to install them.
And that third party is going to cost us money. I mean, my point being is look, folks, if we want to improve our services, we got to pay for it. And unfortunately, right now, we're just trying to break even, let alone improve. So that's unfortunately the harsh reality.
For the record, the CFO had personal commitment this evening. Okay, so otherwise he'd be.
Thank you for coming, Jerry.
But the CFO is gonna have a personal commitment every Monday, right?
No, only when it has a council meeting, the same time we do.
That's what I'm saying, but he'll never be here on a Monday unless we move the meeting to a Tuesday.
We can always change a council meeting date and have it where he'd be available.
And I had recommended that, especially when you have this conversation, to have that CFO here to make a presentation. Because knowing that his meeting's the same night as our meeting.
He indicated he would be here on the 24th.
That Monday he'll be here. Okay. He's already submitted his budget, right?
We have it in draft form, the finance committee
His
is
budget.
digesting it.
His budget. Yeah.
Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
No.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
No, not as it's written.
Councilman Zambrana.
No, not as it's written.
Seeing as we have a tie, the mayor would vote, so Mayor Murray.
Aye.
I just want to say something now, if I may. 3 yeses, 3 nos, clearly a hard decision. But if we can't vote to raise the rates now and we need the damn money, what are we going to do in the future when we really need to make improvements? Answer me that, please, help me. Because I spend countless hours up here, whether it's my kid's birthday or an anniversary. I give so much of my time to be here to do right by the residents, to plan for the future of this town, not just for today, not for a campaign. I ain't running this year. I could care less about being up here, other than the fact that we need people up here we can trust to do the job.
Rich, Council President
I'm done.
Revelinsky? Yes, because we're all up here doing the same thing.
I doubt
As
it.
you- as
I
you
doubt
said-
it. If you did, you would have voted yes.
No, sir. If you listen to what we said, we're not in agreement the way it's currently written. And like you said, we need to put a plan in place. So it did pass to move to the next step, but be sure this will be looked at with a fine-tooth comb, and it's not going to pass unless we're all in agreement.
This is a struggle for each of us. I'll have trouble when I see my wife tonight, but this is a huge struggle. And you don't want us all to think the same. Even if you think you do, you don't.
I'll tell you, I wish there was something I could do. I'd rather give my salary back than to raise this, up, but it's not gonna make a dent in it. That's the real fault of this, and I really wish we would have known earlier about this.
This is the introduction of ordinance 24-1541. There is no public input on this ordinance tonight. The introduction summary will be published as required by law, and a second reading, public hearing, final adoption will be considered on June 24th, 2024. Full copies of the ordinance will be posted on the Borough website, on the bulletin board, at the municipal building, and available at no cost in the office of the municipal clerk between hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Fridays. Will the deputy clerk please read ordinance 24-1541 by title only?
Ordinance 24-1541, an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 Sewer, Section 26-7.9, sewer use charges of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Milltown.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Zambrana. Does council have any questions or comments? Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
No.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
No, not as it's written.
Councilman Zambrana.
No, not as it's currently written.
Again, seeing as a tie, Mayor.
Aye. The following ordinance was introduced on May 28th, 2024, and published in accordance with law.
Mayor, the second reading. You didn't read
Oh,
that
I'm
line.
sorry. Second reading and public hearing on this ordinance will take place on June 24th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Council Chambers. The following ordinance was introduced on May 28th, 2024 and published in accordance with law. If any member of the public wishes to comment on this ordinance, they may do so after the reading. Will the deputy clerk please read ordinance 24-1537 by title?
Ordinance 24-1537, ordinance authorizing the installation of 2 additional stop signs at the intersection of Clay Street and Oaks Avenue to convert the intersection to a 4-way stop-controlled intersection.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance 24-1537?
So moved.
We have money for it?
Yes, we do.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Potter, seconded by Council President Revelinsky. Now open up the public hearing on ordinance 24-1537. Please state your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to comments to this ordinance only. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of this meeting. Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
The following ordinance was introduced on May 28, 2024, and published in accordance with the law. If any member of the public wishes to comment on this ordinance, they may do so after the reading. Will the deputy clerk please read ordinance 24-1538 by title?
Ordinance 24-1538, bond ordinance providing for various road improvements, appropriating $1,750,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $601,500 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof, authorized in and by the Borough of Milltown in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Potter. I will open up the public hearing on ordinance 24-1538. Please state your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to comments on this ordinance only. Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of this meeting. Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Authorizing payments of municipal obligations. Next on the agenda, we will have authorizing payments of municipal obligation. Will the deputy clerk please read resolution by title?
Resolution 2024-182, authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount $283,187.58.
You have heard the reading of this resolution. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I had a couple questions on page 10, and it was on the first, I guess it's bill set. I got 2 bill sets on here, right, Monica?
Yeah.
It was in the first one, page 10. There's a question. It was on this Rothstein Mendel Strom. You know what that is, Fred?
It's a labor attorney.
Oh, we got that much in labor attorney, $6,000?
Yes, sir. That's Andrea Wyatt, the labor attorney for the town.
See, and I had a question on number, page 8 on the last, the second one. Or is that the
Page
first
8.
one?
See, what page, sir?
And I'm sure a lot, Fred, of those bills were the result of trying to get the folks in the utility department to the appropriate pay.
No, sir.
No? We haven't
Now's not the
received those
time,
ones
now's
yet?
now's not the time to have that conversation.
Where my other one is. I'll just let that one go.
Now, what was the other question, sir?
Yeah, I had one on page 8 on the second one, but somewhere I misplaced it. I can't find the page, second one, I'm sorry. Page 8 on the second one. On here, yeah. There's 2 of them on here instead of one of them, so. I don't know where I circled it, sorry. I'll just have to skip that one, I'm sorry.
So just send me an email and we'll answer
Yeah,
the
I'll send
question.
you an email. Thanks, Fred.
May I have a motion and a second, please?
Second?
I have a motion by Council President Revlinsky, seconded by Councilman Collins. Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revlinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
A consent resolution has been prepared for the resolutions listed on the agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by the Borough Council will be enacted in one motion. Any items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council members, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditures are supported by certification of funds. If any member of the council wants any resolution acted on individually, please give me the resolution number and I will pull it from the consent resolution.
Mr. Mayor, 2024-184 and 2024-185.
I'd like 2024, 186, 2024, 189.
Okay, will the deputy clerk please read the consent resolution excluding 2024, 184, 185, 186, 189, please?
Whereas pursuant to the rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meetings upon certain conditions, and whereas each of the following resolutions to be presented before the Borough Council at its June 10th, 2024 regular meeting appear to have the unanimous approval of all members of the Borough Council, Resolutions 2024-187 and 188. Now therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown that each of the above listed resolutions be approved and adopted by the Borough Council with the same legal effect as though each was read in its entirety at the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting and adopted by separate vote.
You have heard the reading of this consent resolution. What's your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Revlinsky, seconded by Councilman Potter. Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revlinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Will the deputy clerk please read resolution 2024-184 by title?
Resolution 2024-184, authorizing award of contract under New Jersey State Contract Number A88726, 2024 Ford F-250 pickup truck, Winter Ford NTE, the amount of $74,684.
What is the pleasure of council?
You pulled it.
Mr. BA, can you tell me if this $75,000 pickup truck is for the utility department or the DPW department?
Yes, sir.
Would you tell me?
Is it split 50/50 or is it 60/40 or is that what you're looking for?
So, I can't tell you which one goes to the water department, to your, or whether it goes to the electric
Whether it goes to
department or
utility,
public
right.
works department. To me, they're all the same on the top of the hill when, you know, when you're buying a vehicle that, from 2022 capital budget.
I hear you. Anybody else? $75,000 truck? No need to raise the rates?
Could we ask?
Make the motion
Could we
that
ask, could we ask the chief financial officer, can he tell?
I
the
mean,
dif-
if you
the
like, why don't we
difference
just,
between-
why don't we just pull the resolution? We'll find out who it belongs to, put it back on the 24th. It's easy.
Sure.
Easy peasy.
There is a
Yes, there is a
certification of funds,
certification of
yes.
funds. That's, I mean, the money's on there. It's certified.
I'm not questioning the money, I just wanted to know the delta between the capital plan budget and this, that's all.
I just need 2 minutes, I can tell you which is going to which department.
And it doesn't have to be right now. Once I see that it's got in that C account, I'm okay.
I see there's a Western 8-foot Pro Plow Plus. So I'm thinking it's probably for DPW, but I know we have overlap a lot of times.
The F-450 is for DPW and the 250 is for utilities.
450 utilities, 250 is DPW.
So 75,000 for utilities and 94,000 roughly for DPW.
Switched, okay.
No.
Backwards.
Switch.
Backwards.
You said the
DPW.
250s for utilities, right?
No, DPW.
Bueller?
I closed that because I thought. The 450 is for DPW.
Got it.
185. And 184 is for
93,000. And the 250 is,
utilities.
Utilities, okay.
75,000 utilities. Okay. Answers my question.
But that was budgeted in the, it was already budgeted,
Previous capital.
so it is
Yep.
planned ahead,
Yeah.
well planned ahead,
Is that,
and addressed early,
does that mean
so
that
it
there
doesn't
are-
become a
Does that mean
big
that there are
burden this
two
year.
vehicles that are like leaving? Are they, two vehicles being retired, they're replacing two vehicles? Again, I don't need to know that right now.
What
Thank
is
you.
the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion that the resolution be adopted?
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Collins, seconded by Councilman Zambrana. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Why not?
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Will the deputy clerk please read resolution 2024-186 by title?
185.
85?
Oh,
85, right?
185.
Or 185 by title?
Resolution 2024-185, authorizing award of contract under NJ State Contract A88215, 2024 Ford F450 cab and chassis crew cab 4x4 winter Ford not to exceed $93,728.
What is your pleasure, council?
I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
Second?
I have a motion made by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Collins. Is there any discussion?
It's for DPW, so go ahead.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Will the deputy clerk please read resolution 2024-186 by title?
Resolution 2024-186, establishing a Mount Laurel Subcommittee and appointing members to assist the borough?
Not appointed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Subcommittee to assist the borough in complying with its affordable housing obligations.
What is the pleasure, council?
I have a question about the subcommittee. Is this in perpetuity?
I believe this only really goes to the end of the year.
Well, it's, by its terms, the resolution indicates it'll remain in existence until dissolved or terminated by the Borough Council. So technically, it is perpetual, but it's going to have a finite purpose as to working as a group to try to assist the council with meeting its affordable housing obligations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question. Why has it been changed to two council members who currently serve on Finance Administration and Planning Subcommittee? This wasn't on the original that we looked at. It was changed.
This is the first time we had the resolution.
No, I think the last time we had a draft saying.
No, we had the borough clerk who made a recommendation, and when we sat down at the agenda meeting, we decided that it should be this way.
So who made the ultimate decision?
Who made the ultimate decision? Why can't it just be two council members?
Well, we thought because this pertains to planning, that it should be members of the finance, administration, and
Why
planning.
can't we all work together? Could I just say two council
You
members?
can certainly chime in whenever you want.
I am. I'm actually suggesting that we
Clearly.
amend it to just say two council members and not have one committee on it.
Make a motion.
I don't know if we can, oh, thank you. I make a motion that we amend it to, we amend the subcommittee membership to
There's a motion already
two
on the
council.
floor.
No, we just had a discussion. He just said.
No, we didn't make a motion, okay, sorry, they've changed.
There's no
the
much
facts. My
motion,
bad.
that's why, yep. So that's why I'm making a motion that we amend it to change it just to two council members. And-
One from each party or just two?
No, just two council members.
So it's a motion, so we need a second to the motion to the amendment.
Second.
Second?
So there's a motion made by Councilman Potter, seconded by Councilman Zambrana. Is there any discussion? No. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
No, because of the change. I don't
Yeah.
like the way that's written.
Councilman Collins.
No, I'm fine with what he's on here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer, sir.
No, I'm fine with what's on here.
No. Councilman Manco.
No.
Councilman Poznanski.
I see it, I see it. I'll vote yes.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Tiebreak, Mayor Murray.
And this is for updating,
This is
as
to-
per the updated, correct?
This is for the amendment.
For the amendment.
No is for the amendment, and yes is for the
No is
amendment.
per the amendment?
No, if you
Peter?
say,
No is-
You're either voting in
The motion
favor or
made was
against.
an affirmative motion to remove certain language from the resolution, so a vote in favor of the motion is to remove the language, a vote against the motion is to leave the resolution the way it is.
Then yes, we can amend it per the two council members. Will the deputy clerk please read resolution number 2024-189 by
So
title?
just for the record, that was just a motion to amend the resolution. You never adopted it. So you
Well, I
would need
was
another,
thinking it was amend and adopt.
your
No.
motion was just to amend. No one,
The
I'm
wording
just,
on it.
Then I'll make a motion to adopt the amendment.
Sorry, that's just
Section 3B.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Potter, seconded by Councilman Zambrana. Is there any discussion?
I think the planning subcommittee, the planning committee, it just makes sense that a council member probably should likely be involved in the planning subcommittee unless there's, I don't see why that wouldn't be a boon to that, to the subcommittee, to have a dedicated or liaison or somebody who has continuous and constant access to the information and things in front of the planning subcommittee. Because if general, and I may not understand the concept all that well, but if we're going to try to be compliant, knowing what's coming down the pipe in being built in town would make sense to me.
So Councilman Manco, I can let you know that somebody who wanted to be on this committee is currently not on that board who's a council member. So that's why I voted to amend it, so we can allow for more options and not just one committee.
Who would that be?
That would be Councilman Zambrana, who does have experience in planning and on the, he was on Ford Avenue, so that was, I believe he emailed you
I've been on
guys.
Fort Avenue too.
No, I know. Well, Council President Revelinsky, you can absolutely be
Will
on
the
it if
clerk-
you like.
Deputy clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Revelinsky.
Why not?
Yes, we had a motion by Councilman Potter and a second by Councilman Zambrana. Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Sorry, just to make sure, the wording was amended or has not?
Wording was amended.
Wording
This is
was
now a
amended.
motion to adopt.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
Aye.
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Will the deputy clerk please read resolution number 2024-189 by title?
Resolution 2024-189, authorizing amending a professional services contract, architectural professional services, public meeting space design, Schwendeman Cabin Project not to exceed $7,560.
What is the pleasure of council?
I just like a question, why did this take so long? This was approved last summer.
Well, I wanted to pull this also. I'd like to open this for discussion. First of all, there's an increase from what this originally came out as, but I'd like to discuss if we all are on the same page as far as going through this. I mean, we're strapped for cash, and I did home improvement, and I have my own feelings about that site, which may not be popular here.
So this proposal was put out last year because we have about $103,000, give or take, in grant money from the county. So it's not taxpayer money, it's coming from the county to do improvements to that property. And there's been varying opinions on whether or not it can be salvaged, should be salvaged, and what should be done. So we figured let's get an architect in there to give us a site assessment. And his original proposal was around $5,600 or so. He asked the town for copies of plans, architectural plans or layout drawings. Having found none, he said, you know what, I think for another $1,000 or 5 or 10 hours of work, I'll draft the plans up too and indicate, you know, what outlets are shot, he needs some sort of layout plan in order to present a report. And so since the money's coming from the county, it kind of makes sense to throw the extra grand in there and get him on his way.
Yeah, this should have been done like 5 years ago, and then it was supposed to be done last summer, and now it's finally getting done this summer. It's like,
So this has probably just happened because of changing QPA, right?
No.
Part of the problem, no?
No.
No? Okay. Change in CFO?
No.
I'm trying to figure out, like, how come there's no work that's been done? Because he was waiting to amend this?
I just said it. There's no architectural plans. He said, get me the architectural plans. And we said, how much? And he said, probably about 10 more hours. So approve me up to $7,500 and I'll draw the architectural plans and I'll do the report. And it went back and forth between our DPW director and then our borough offices and going out and figuring out how to do this. And then we wanted to make sure through the QPA that this was okay to do and that we wouldn't have to go out for a new RFP. So clean, legal, straightforward. We're spending the county's money to look at a building that they gave us back because they didn't want, that we paid for in the beginning to trade.
So this comes from the grant?
Yep, that's correct.
But at the same time, if we don't all think alike as far as keeping the structure there, this comes away from that grant money.
Correct, yeah, his report is to give us the information to make our determination on what to do with that structure.
Okay.
and the funds.
I understand that.
So we get money that we could spend, it's county money. So,
What is the pleasure of council, please?
Make a motion that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion made by Council President Revelinsky, seconded by Councilman Collins. Will the deputy clerk please call the roll?
Council President Revelinsky.
Aye.
Councilman Collins.
Aye.
Councilman Manco.
Aye.
Councilman Poznanski.
No?
Councilman Potter.
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
All right, we have reports from elected officials. Council President Revelinsky.
Finance, Planning, Administration, as well as Ford Avenue, update on Ford Avenue. The court date was delayed. The next tentatively scheduled court date is for September. We'll see what happens with that. For Finance, we had our draft review of the 2024 budget. Looks like there's about $34 left in our spending capacity. In that budget, the Finance Committee met last Monday and is digesting the information within that budget, and we should be meeting again hopefully by the end of the week, if not next week, so that we can introduce it at the June 24th council meeting. Tax bills, estimated tax bills did go out. We increased everything 4% as an estimate. That's a hedge your bet kind of tax bill that went out, so don't be shocked. It includes 4% on the schools, 4% on the borough, and 4% on the county taxes. Right now, we're looking at a 2% increase, so if you average back down to 2% over 2 quarters, you're looking at up 4, back to 0, and then quarters 1 and 2 in 2025 would be the 2%.
And the tax bills are because we didn't have the CFO, is that correct?
Well, we have to adopt this ordinance for the water sewer bills, which I would think people on the Finance Committee knew. and utilities. I mean, it just baffles me. But you've heard enough from me tonight. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilman Collins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two short reports. The electric utility responded to 2 motor vehicle accidents with broken poles, repaired a broken cross arm with a hanging primary wire, responded to an outage on West Fauche Avenue, and made the necessary repairs for a restoral. The water utility manhole repaired on North Main Street, sewer was cleaned on North Main, and the hydrant was replaced on Birch Street. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Mako?
So a few things. We'll mention that at the Board of Education meeting, it was mentioned, there's a gentleman, John Parisio, who has been a custodian there for a good 20 years. He's retiring, and just as an honorable mention to him, he's done very good work. When they're actually looking for his replacement, they ended up modifying the job description because he just had taken over so many roles, and he will be missed. So I mentioned that as the board liaison. Beyond that, in the rec department, a few good things. In a late last-minute session, the mayor himself, I believe, applied for a grant sponsored by Middlesex County, which has resulted in us getting the grant and free swimming lessons for all second graders in Middlesex County. That will be done through the Borough Rec Department. The address, of course, 61 Violet Terrace, Milltown. I didn't even know that because, for the most part, it's always been the borough pool is right over there. But you can register through Community Pass, and you must register for that, but that is free and sponsored by a grant. The registration opens Friday, June 14th. There will be free swim lessons will be offered for children in second grade during the current 2023-2024 school year. To register, you must create a Community Pass account. Limited spots are available. 3 sessions will be available. Please note, the Rec Department kindly asks you only to register for 1 session to give other people the opportunity to take part in this program. The Recreation Department will be monitoring registration. Beyond that, the borough pool will open for the season on Saturday, June 15th. The pool staff is working very hard to make it an unforgettable summer. The pool hours will be from 12 noon to 8 p.m., and if you're looking to purchase a membership, please visit Community Pass. They were excited to say Milltown Splash Squad has over 50 kids registered. If you want to be part of the summer fun, a few spots are still available. The Albert Ave Summer Camp will start Monday, July 1st. Only a few spots remain open, so please register quickly if you'd like that. Summer tennis class registration is now open. Classes for that begin on July 9th. Thank you for supporting the Milltown Rec Department, and they look forward to making many fun summer memories. Additional to that, the Library Committee, would like to mention the Library Board meeting is tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. They are going to have a drop-in play for 0 to 24-month kids on Wednesday, June 12th at 10:30. On Thursday, June 13th, there'll be an after-school craft, a flower pot seed paper kit. Saturday, June 15th, we'll have crocheting with Sam at 11 a.m. Monday, June 17th at 6 p.m., there's a program on New Jersey courts and civil rights. Wednesday, June 19th, drop-in crafts at 11 a.m. Registration for summer reading begins on Thursday, June 20th. Saturday, June 22nd, summer reading is the kickoff party at 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., featuring Mr. Zoom, giant bubbles, face painting, pizza, raffle, and an ice cream truck to purchase ice cream from. Monday, June 24th at 9:15 a.m., there will be adult yoga. And in the evening on Monday, June 24th, the Go Fly a Kite Bingo at 6:30 p.m. The library will be closed on Friday, June 21st, in observance of Juneteenth. And they go live with their new catalog system on Thursday, June 14th. So thank you for your patience while that system is being upgraded. They do have some challenges, but they're working through them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Poznanski.
I'm going to start off with the senior center activities. Senior swim with Carol will begin on Wednesday, July 10th at 9 o'clock a.m. Classes will be held every Wednesday and Friday mornings from 9 to 10 throughout the summer. There are still openings for weekly participation in the social club at Parker from 10:30 a.m., 1:30 on Fridays. Cost for participants is $3. Transportation to and from Milltown Senior Center is provided by Parker. There will be a bus trip to Walmart Superstore in Woodbridge on Tuesday, June 18th. The bus will leave the Senior Center at 9:30 a.m. There will be a lunch and learn from AFC Urgent Care on Wednesday, June 26th at 1:30 p.m. Sign up on the bulletin board in advance is required as we will be serving lunch. And monthly reports from the DPW. They prepared pools for opening day, which is coming, repaired small sinkholes and potholes, installed no parking signs on JFK, and they dismantled the old salt shed at the DPW, and work there is ongoing. But I will say, it is not a park yet, although that is the aim. So please be careful and don't go back there. There's glass and it's a mess. So please don't go back there. I also wanted to bring up that road work on Main Street will start. It could be June 21st, the day after the kids get out of school, but at least by the 24th, and it should be a four-day finish on that. And let's see. The cul-de-sac at Foge will be finished by next year also, because there was an inquiry on that. And we got grants for Highland Drive. It's an interlocal, which is between the town and the county. And so Highland Drive will be milled and paved starting hopefully mid-July. And adjoining streets will also be done. And let's see. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Chief Johnson from the Milltown Police Department, between May 1st, 2024 and May 31st, 2024, police responded to 1,307 calls for service. During this period, the police conducted 115 radar details in numerous locations. Police made 452 motor vehicle stops during this period and investigated 16 motor vehicle accidents. There were 8 arrests, which included domestic violence, 3 DWI arrests, harassment, contempt of court, shoplifting, and theft, receiving stolen property, and hindering apprehension. Regarding solicitor permits, as of June 4, 2024, there have currently been no individuals who have been issued a solicitor permit by the Borough of Milltown through the police department. When in doubt, call us out. Do not become a victim of a scam. Regarding summer safety, with our crossing guards off for the summer, we remind pedestrians of the following. Please use crosswalks. Do not enter the roadway unless it's safe. Vehicles see you and have time to stop. Vehicles must stop when you're in the crosswalk and not before. Heads up, phones down, always keep your eye on traffic. Community involvement is crucial in maintaining a more secure environment. We strongly encourage you to assist us by reporting any suspicious persons, vehicles, or incidents that you may come across. Our non-emergency line is 732-828-1100. In case of emergencies, always dial 911. We would like to congratulate all of our 8th grade and 12th grade graduating students. Best wishes in high school and college. From Chief Jolly for the Milltown Fire Department. The Milltown Fire Department has gained 3 new cadet members, and on Monday, May 27th, we had our annual Memorial Day services to honor all of our deceased members. And members are needed. Any candidates interested in joining the Milltown Fire Department are encouraged to stop by the firehouse on Monday nights at 6:30 or email joinmilltownfire@gmail.com. From Captain Will Kaplan from the Milltown Rescue Squad, thank you to everyone who participated in our annual fund drive last month. We had a record support and we are truly grateful. If you still have not donated, you can still do so online at the Milltown Rescue Squad at milltownrescuesquad.org or mail your donation to P.O. Box 308, Milltown, New Jersey 08850, and we look forward to seeing everyone on the 4th of July. Segueing to the 4th of July, we are just 24 days away from our big day. We'll be having our final Dine to Donate at Maria's on Thursday, June 20th, and Friday, June 21st. Our 50/50 raffle is still available. Tickets are available in our local stores or contact a committee member. Just a friendly reminder, if any business or organization is interested in being in the parade, please contact us at milltown4th@gmail.com or go to our website and fill out the parade form. And finally, please keep an eye out for the flyers of events for the day, which should be coming to your doors soon. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Zambrana.
Thank you, Mayor Murray. From the Environmental Commission, the next meeting will be Wednesday, June 26th, and that will be via Zoom. It's usually at 7:30. Next Board of Health meeting will be Tuesday, June 25th at 7:30. That's usually in person. 6:30 p.m. Revitalization Advisory Committee will be having their meeting tomorrow via Zoom. Right now, it's either between 7:30 p.m. or 8 o'clock due to some scheduling issues. And then from our Human Relations Committee, just want to mention two things that are in the hopper. Our Borough Attorney, Mr. Vignolo, is helping draft a resolution to continue on the path to change Batain Avenue to Hague Avenue. That'll either be ready at the next meeting on the 24th or on the first meeting in July, whichever is more available. And then the Human Relations Committee, in collaboration with the Borough of Milltown, wants to just remind everyone of the importance of Juneteenth and that June is Pride Month. The commission would like to encourage all residents and families to join in celebrating any events related to Pride Month or Juneteenth throughout Middlesex County. You can Google anything you want. There's lots of different places that actually you can attend one of these events. There's actually one, I believe, later on in June that will be held as a celebration of Juneteenth at the Rivilla Grooves vinyl record store. Again, if you go to Rivilla Grooves, they'll tell you for sure what date and what time that will be. Just a little history about Juneteenth, which we celebrated on Wednesday, June 19th. Juneteenth is short for June 19th, which was the day that federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to take control of the state and to ensure that all enslaved people were freed. Those troops' arrival came a full 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Juneteenth honors the end to slavery in the United States and is considered the longest-running African-American holiday. On June 17th of 2021, it officially became a federal holiday, and as I said, Juneteenth 2024 will occur on Wednesday, June 19th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports from Borough Professionals, Borough Attorney Peter Vignola.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Borough Engineer, Mr. McClellan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one quick report. As you know, last meeting, we discussed the NJDOT transportation grants, and they are for municipal aid projects, road projects typically, bikeway, and safe streets to transit. We did meet with the Public Works Committee last week, and various suggestions were made. These are necessary to package and get in. Deadline for the grant is July 1st. The first item would be for municipal roads. The suggestion from the committee was the Northbrook Drive Project Phase 2, which would continue the work, which was included in your ordinance tonight, on Northbrook Drive. The second recommendation, and we concur, by the way, with these recommendations, is a bikeway grant, which would be Phase 2, Albert Avenue Park. You have a grant that's basically plans being prepared for Phase 1. This would continue the bike path through the Albert Avenue Park, and may I add that the NJDOT prefers extensions in phases, and that's should be something that they will basically rule favorably on. The third section was safe streets to transit. The suggestion there was the Coulthard Avenue crossing and bicycle pedestrian crossing at Coulthard Avenue near Albert Avenue. Those three recommendations would be, in our opinion, very good selections. We're not sure how much of the grant money is allotted. Typically, you do get a grant for each road project that you put in. Bikeways and safe streets and tangents is a little bit more of a competitive program, but that'd be our recommendation. If we can get council approval, we'll prepare the application out and ready by July 1st.
Thank you. Deputy Borough Clerk, Mary.
So we wanted to extend our congratulations again to Kathy on her retirement and thank her for her many years of service to this town. Tuesday, June 4th, was primary election day. We wanted to thank all of our poll workers who came out and made that possible and worked the polls that day. Wanted to thank everybody for their patience with the clerk's office, because we're currently still working understaffed during our busiest time of year with all the marriages and various borough events that we issue all the licenses for. And as such, we've switched to appointments, which are needed for marriage license applications and our notary services. So for all of our happy couples that are getting married and getting a marriage license, you must have a ceremony date and someone to marry you. The fee for a marriage license application is $28, and there is a 72-hour waiting period once you've completed the application. Notary services are still offered free of charge by the clerk's office, and you can call 732-828-2100, extension 181, to schedule an appointment for either of those services. The Borough Hall's summer hours are in effect. They started on June 3rd. So we'll be open from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon on Fridays. And Borough Hall is closed on Wednesday, June 19th, in observance of Juneteenth.
Old business. Does any member of council have any old business to bring before council?
I do. I have some questions. Some are going to be rhetorical. It's about the court reporter. We voted to hire her at the last meeting, and may I assume she started after that, or was she already working? Did she start working before the council voted? Who hired her? And this could be for Peter. Who does the hiring in town, according to our laws? Does the judge understand the law? A couple other questions, but if anyone wants to answer me, they may. If not, so be it.
I don't have the answer to those questions, so perhaps our BA does?
I think he's writing it down.
So the court reporter was a full-timer in another town. The judge just asked her to come in. We found out when she brought us her timesheet, at which time we then had to bring to council a resolution to pay her. Traditionally, as you know, we have a personnel committee. They're supposed to decide all these things, decide who gets hired, posting of notes. I believe the mayor wrote everybody an email on that over the weekend. That would be the way you would have, but you know, this is Milltown, and we do things differently. So that resolution, Councilman, was on the agenda last time to correct an issue that that sort of showed up at our desk when the timesheet showed up.
So she's above the law then?
I would never tell a judge that she's above the law.
Well, I am.
Well, that's your choice, sir, but I'm not crazy.
Okay, who does the hiring in town? We do know, don't we?
The council
Fred?
does the hiring. She must be hired by resolution to be paid, yes, sir.
Right.
Was that done? No, sir.
Thank
Until
you.
after the fact.
Thank you. Okay.
Does any member of council have any new business to bring before council?
Actually, I've got one. I've heard for several meetings now that the clerk's office is understaffed, and I know we've kicked this issue around a couple of times. And Mr. Mayor, I know you did some digging in regards to what our staffing was on there. In our draft budget, the CFO had plugged in some numbers and pointed out that, we brought on our deputy clerk in December, and assumed that since there was only 2 people in that office last year, that there was only intended to be 2 people this year. So while we celebrated Kathy Beardsley's retirement this evening, the budget does not include the monies for replacing Kathy, because that would be a 3rd full-time person in that office. So, Mr. Mayor, I know you did some research on this. If you wouldn't mind telling us what you found out about the employment records in that office, about how many full-time and part-time, and when we go back, because if that money wasn't properly budgeted for last year, there's not a lot of room in the budget this year to do it, so.
Okay. But I also would like to still request, again, is to have a personnel committee meeting so we could discuss things
So-
as a personnel committee meeting.
I would recommend that since we haven't met to discuss this, to not bring it out in public, we can discuss it.
We're talking about a position, not a person. It's
We're
perfectly
talking
legal
about
to
a
discuss it in public.
personnel- The mayor just said we're talking about a personnel committee issue, and I believe we should talk about that in a personnel committee before we come and bring it out to the general public. So that's just my recommendation. However, you can do whatever you please to do.
Does the public portion of our meeting is to allow public to bring to the council's attention their comments or their concerns or comments. The council will respect the public's time by refraining from any comment until the speaker is finished. It should be noted that the public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. Please state your name and address for the record when you come to the podium. Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. Richard Ryan, 60 South Main Street, Milltown. Mayor, council members, professionals, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be brief. Two things. We don't get to pick and choose more times than not when we're called upon in a crisis situation, which is where you are now with regard to your budget and how you balance that budget. My personal feeling is, having been through some of these things, that we should collectively leave the political discourse to campaigns, and as a governing body here, demonstrate the courage it takes to address these crises we come upon. I, for one, would offer, if it's time, get out of the business of water and sewer. Be done with it. Sell it. There are companies out there, you've probably explored some of this. Maybe the numbers don't look good to you now, but I'm certain that if we were to sell that utility to a private contractor, that some of these issues would not be ours to bear entirely. And things are always changing, we understand that. So maybe now is absolutely the time to really chase that. I don't know what a typical taxpayer is, I just know that I'm not a typical taxpayer. And I will often offer, raise my taxes if you can show me the real reason for it, real cause, and the benefit in it, right? If you can't see benefit in owning a water sewer utility any longer, sell it. I'll thank you. That's one issue. The other issue I just want to bring up briefly is with regard to my ongoing issues at 60 South Main Street with St. Paul's Church, that I would like the record to reflect that going back to May 4th, right through this past weekend, excluding one Saturday, and I want to look at my calendar to see if I can properly identify which one it was. I think it was Saturday, May 11th. Each Saturday since May 4th, there's been activity both in the church and in the school. It appears to be the same group. It appears to be a spiritual group that comes in and rents the church. And I was under the belief that because the church was in a commercial zone that they were allowed to do that. I'm not so certain about that any longer. Even if that is accurate, that they can do that, I don't see how renting the church conveys automatically into the ability to use the school for any part of what their events are. I would appreciate it if mayor and council would look further into that. I will share that as has been the case for a long time, you're all aware of, I have called on numerous occasions and spoke to dispatch to let the police department know that, in my estimation, illegal activities continue to happen every weekend. I know that nobody's going to comment on it. I understand, I appreciate it. But I'm asking once again, internally, please have some discussion and forward whatever information you can to me. Thank you for your time.
Russ?
Russell Einbinder, 152A North Main Street. Mr. Mayor, and you were signaling me, you said you're hearing feedback in the room, sir? It must be this mic. We had to change the wire on it tonight. Maybe it's too loud. We'll check it after again. Okay, the volume. This is just a little reminder. Our wonderful president of the 4th of July organization says some great things. Thank you, Councilman Potter. Dave. I don't be that formal tonight, Dave. But just want to remind people some other things, because I've been doing most of the emails and things like that along with Dave, and Facebook questions on our page and stuff like that. I just want to answer a couple of things too that we've been asked a lot, make it really simple publicly. And you gentlemen and lady up here, folks, you'll understand tonight, I can tell you it's one of the busiest nights I've seen on YouTube for us in a long time. Just so you know, there's a lot of people watching tonight for whatever the reason. I think we know what it is, but that's good. People are getting involved and paying attention. We like that. So, two things. First of all, the latest information that people are asking about the Patriotic House Contest. Yes, we're doing it again, and yes, the form is there on the website now, milltown4thofjuly.org. Also, the same thing with the Patriotic Bike Contest. And Mr. Schaffhauser, who's running that this year, is telling me that we want to get more kids actually in the parade this year. So as many kids, the weekend before is when you can take the pictures if you want, or your own. But the day of, we want a lot of those cute little bikes and the kids right in the parade. If they're not doing anything else, we love to have them there. Take a big picture of them all. It's a really cool picture at the end of the parade. That's number 2. Number 3, actually, you did talk about, thank you, about the next time to donate, but I want to remind people too that the raffle tickets for our big raffle are now out there, okay? And that and a lot of other things will be on sale. Our mugs are coming in literally tomorrow. The T-shirts are being by this weekend, all that kind of stuff. It'll be ready, available, okay? We're not doing things online with that stuff this year, because I think that COVID crisis stuff that we did it with doesn't really necessitate that. So I know I'm loud no matter what with feedback. So basically, if you have a chance, sometime in the next few weeks, if you want to avoid the lines on the 4th, just stop by. Let's see, there's Maria's, Milltown Convenience, Mike's Country Market, Bagel Express, Kelly's Hair, Garden State Bar, and Rescued by Lacey. All those places are going to have most or all of our merchandise, including the things I just said, and also the wristbands for the kids, which are, by the way, still staying down to $5. All your great fundraising you've done with us helps us keep that down this year. All right? And there's some other things that we're going to see this year we've never seen before there. So get ready for another great day. Thank you. And see you in 24 days?
24 days. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Jennifer Pinella, 193 South Main Street. I live in a 100-year-old Victorian-style farmhouse on Main Street. I usually receive compliments on my beautiful little Milltown house. We added lovely brick pavers to the curb to bring that historical warmth to the community. To me, my house represents the flavor of Milltown. What is beautiful property to me? I prefer to see trees, not McMansions in my backyard. Enabling the development of a row of McMansions and blacktop in place of inviting trees is a direction I did not see Milltown taking. Supporting the preservation of the charming small town style is the direction I thought we were pursuing together.
Point of view, development is good. Point of view, development is destructive. It can be. Hasn't Milltown been pummeled enough from development company boxing matches? Just look at the black eye on Ford Avenue, the split lip on South Main Street, not to mention the broken nose across from Colfau. Replacing an historical home with Valley Bank on North Main, another black and blue mark. The contusion of the beautiful structure with the wraparound porch now looks like a hole in the ground, and it is. Bad development decisions after bad development decision. I have an idea. Let's approve a broken collarbone in the form of removing the beautiful wooded area, only to be replaced with a wide two-lane street and oversized, unattractive homes. Enough. Stop. Is this our vision for Milltown? I thought we wanted to move in a charming, historical direction. Once this development is approved and begins on Christopher Street, it will be impossible to stop. We're not talking one house and 50 trees anymore. We're talking a row of oversized homes and hundreds of trees by the time this is done spiraling. Do we think that lofty trees are easily replaceable? It took 100 years for those trees to grow, and I know that because when my boys were little and played in those woods, they would often bring home milk bottles from Forest Gate Farm. When people used to throw their rubbish behind their homes before garbage pickup even existed. These companies already have those beloved trees marked for felling. That entire wooded strip will, in the very near future, be ripped out, and in their place will be McMansions and blacktop. Thanks. Resist the idea that progress is getting something for nothing. Getting something for nothing. Getting something for nothing. In my experience, if I'm getting something for nothing, I'm usually sorry that I accepted what seemed like a win-win deal. If someone is offering you something for nothing, beware. Resist this seemingly good deal. Choose to back Milltown residents whose vision for this town is for a charming old Victorian style that is not the vision of these contractors. Listen to what your residents are telling you, and we will together move Milltown ahead for a better historical landmark that one day Middlesex County will be proud to cite on their list of must-visit towns. Thank you.
Hang on one second, Dave. No, come on.
Charles Redneck, 322 South Main Street. I just want to, support Ms. Pinella because she's absolutely right. I mean, that's what people want with Milltown. They love the charming old Victorian houses and old little farmhouses, the tree-lined streets that are being destroyed for the repaving and re-sidewalking and recurbing. Not recurbing South Main Street, we don't do that, but all the other streets and everything. And that's the kind of stuff that brings people in, is that little charm and that piece of history. That also brings me to my next question. Any word on the firehouses? What's gonna happen moving forward?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
How you doing? Ed Abrams, 7 Henry Street. I wanted to say Jennifer spoke very eloquently and beautifully, and we're here to support the not building of Christopher Street and the completion of that paper street. We're very concerned about the land elevation and the slope issues that were brought up several meetings ago that were a major concern. We're very concerned about water runoff and the effects on the neighboring houses. We're also concerned about the impact on wildlife. We've seen owls. There's a family of 7 or 8 foxes that live back in that area. We also feel like we're not hearing the entire picture, that the partial completion of Christopher Street will lead to more and more development in that area, which has us very concerned. So we know that, I believe this is going to be brought up in the July meeting, but we wanted to make it our point known, in advance that we are against this project and we're here to support the not completion of Christopher Street. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Esther O'Brien. I'm at 5 Henry Street, and I just want to support what Jennifer Pinella said. My property butts up right onto other lots, not the lots that are being developed right now, but that's my concern too, that it seems almost impossible that somehow you'll connect what's on Main Street to a street that is so far below in elevation. That just boggles my mind. And my other neighbor, Ed, I agree. I would rather not see that area developed. And thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arlene. My husband and I live at 11 East Lincoln. We're fairly new to the town. Been here about 2 years now. The main attraction of moving to Milltown was the aesthetic that it has, the neighborhood. We looked for housing, I don't know how many months before we actually finally decided on Milltown. Aside from that, how Jennifer has mentioned, our backdrop of our entire backyard is that of the trees, of the animals. They come up on our cameras all the time. But overall, it creates privacy for us because we do have a ranch-style home, so it's 1 floor, 1 level. The housing, the project that was mentioned a few meetings ago is 2 stories, 5,000 square feet. The architect wasn't really sure where exactly on the lot it would be placed. Sorry, I'm getting nervous. So I'm not really sure how and where it will land for eye view for us, just because they are about 8 to 10 feet lower than our house, but that means that their second floor would be eye view to our backyard, which we don't have trees lining anything. Those trees would be removed. So we would basically be looking into, let's say, a bedroom. And we don't really have the space. We have about 11 inches off of the drop-off to put something there to kind of block that off. If not, they are our backyard, because we don't have a backyard extending that way towards that lot. We have 4 lots. They have, after some research, they have 4 lots that they're proposing right now, 4 or 5. That same family owns an additional 4 to 5 lots next to that. So it's no longer just going to be those 4 lots that are being proposed right now. It's an additional, let's say, total 10. So what's to stop the construction once it starts on those 4 lots for it to keep going, to connect to, I'm pretty sure Jennifer was mentioning that there's going to be like a small, like mini mall. So that would be all one piece. And that basically destroys any trees that right now create a lot of privacy for all the neighbors in that area, whether they're here or not. I know, and I can see, because once it's winter, you can see all of our neighbors. But right now it's creating privacy with the greenery of the trees. I know that we don't have a lot of say over what happens in the town because we are fairly new, and there are a lot of people that outrank us here. But respectfully, everyone is entitled because they do own that lot. We're not foreign to the idea that somebody bought that property with the intention of building something there. So we do understand that while they do have every right to build something there, the last time we came to the meeting and the architect spoke about it, he didn't really have a clear answer. First, the elevation was 7%, the elevation was 7%, then it was 24%. So if we can get a clear answer on how things will look for us on our end, the paperwork wasn't submitted with the clerk's office before that meeting as well. So as long as we can have a clear view, that would be respected up to that point. I wouldn't like to see it personally, of course. But I feel like there are a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just jump in. I serve as the planning board secretary as well. Borough Council doesn't vote on this. It's going to be the planning board, that application, they submitted revised plans. July 10th is the planning board meeting, so that would be the place you would want to go to voice your concerns. But there are revised plans from the architecture, they speak to the elevation, they speak to all the other things that were discussed at that initial meeting. So, and those plans are available in my office because I'm the clerk too. So you can call my office or email me and schedule a time to come in and you can take a look at the plans. It's well within your right.
I'd also like to add, I contest one thing that you said, that you haven't been here long, so other people outrank you. You are a resident just the same as anybody else. All the same rights, all the same authority. And I thank you for coming up tonight, because while the planning board hasn't heard this case yet, this is news to me. At least now I'm aware of some of those concerns before the planning board meeting, so thank you.
Mike, what constitutes the angle of a steep slope? What's the percentage
You have an ordinance which basically speaks to steep slopes that you've adopted to about 3 years ago. I can't remember the exact percentage, but I think it's something over 30%,
Yeah,
which is a 3-on-1.
I was going to say, I thought it was 20% or 12.
Yeah.
Because I think some of this development came up last year when we had the South Main Street rehabilitation plan, and it included the allowance for Christopher Street and some other areas.
And one of the things that we are reviewing is the grading proposed, so it complies. It's an early issue we had with the application, so that certainly they'll be required to go through and comply. The only thing I might answer to the folks is that with control in these slopes, we'll unfortunately remove trees. So there's a double-edged sword with this. So we expect when we see the revised plans, hopefully how they've addressed it, allowing steeper slopes or walls may be able to save some trees that the residents are concerned about. But I think the applicant is best to place his case on the record at the time, and the residents can make their comments accordingly.
Thanks, Mike.
Sue Bottileri, 18 Janet Court. So I came here tonight about the water, but I've been inspired by my neighbors talking about what is happening as far as building, and what you had just said, that you were moved to Milltown by the aesthetics. I'm here almost 30 years, and I will tell you, 30 years ago, I had the same feeling. Milltown had that charm. It was a beautiful, small town. Left East Brunswick. We've raised our family here. The current state of what Milltown looks like is nothing like it was. I'm glad you found it 2 years ago, but it's been in a steady decline. As a council, I would hope you're using your power. I don't know whether it's zoning, I don't know things like that, but I implore you to start taking a look at what Main Street looks like when you drive down. Maybe fresh eyes on it, the vacant properties, the overgrown properties. Ford Avenue is a whole other mess, which has been a mess since I moved to town. The trucks that are going in and out. I know I'm missing something, but there was another part. But those of you who have been here understand what I'm saying. I would ask that we try to restore Milltown back to the way it once was. Now to the water. And I understand you had said it's not a Q&A. I do have questions, but I'm not expecting answers. I'm just phrasing it in some of the things that came through. I was here in 2018 when we had the 60 or 70%. I didn't speak then, but increase in water sewer, I think it was 2018.
It was 10% and then followed by 30% the following year.
Okay, and I think electric went up at the same time. I think it was double or maybe right around then. Okay, it was then. But anyway, I didn't speak then, but you've been saying, and it seems pretty consistently, we're short about 350, 325, 300. So what is causing that? And I know obviously that is the question, but it makes me wonder, these vacant buildings, these vacant businesses that have been either torn down, I mean, obviously that's lost revenue for you. Is there anything that can be done there? And then the next side, as far as zoning, The 2,600 meters shocks me, because we have more than 2,600 families that live in this town, I would guess. We have like 9,000 residents.
Absolutely correct.
7,000.
But, yeah, okay, so more than what I was even thinking. Is zoning, or is anything being done about the number of single-family homes that have become multifamily? And I don't even know whether it's multifamily by you. I mean, I don't know much. I walk around a lot. I have a lot of family. I notice things. I notice houses in my neighborhood, and you talk about McMansions, I can only imagine what happened there, but 4-bedroom houses with like a couple of little kids, but a ton of adults. 7 cars in front of a 4-bedroom house when your children are little doesn't make sense to me. So obviously, it's not just 2 adults and 2 children anymore. And I don't know what can be done about that, but
We do see that, and we are working on that.
Wonderful.
We do know about this.
Wonderful.
It hasn't escaped us.
wonderful, because it just seems very odd to me. Like I said, walking around, I'm like, wow, why are there?
Yes.
Now, mind you, I've had 6 cars in front of my house, but I'm a family of 6, and they're all adults, and I pay a fortune for that, so we get that. But when you're looking at just, wow, a 2- and 4-year-old, but why are there 6 cars in front of your house? So,
I will say one thing that was an eye-opener for me. I want to say last year we had a new zoning officer that joined us, and within the first month, he generated $12,000, give or take, in revenue from
Wonderful.
people who were not registering their rental units, or just had decided we're not going to do it. I met with the zoning officer, our current zoning officer, this week, and I said, we really need to do something and start cracking down. We see
Great.
more and more single-family homes being converted to a 2-family home. I'm sure the schools are getting inundated. In fact, the mayor, myself, and Councilman Manco had a phone conference with some board members and the superintendent back in March and said,
wonderful.
hey, be aware, it looks like there's more and more kids that may be popping into the schools that we don't know where they're living.
Wow.
We don't know, and it's not to go after a person in particular or not. It's just a matter of, we have regulations. You have to register your rental unit. You have to have it inspected. It's not just a moneymaker.
You have to pay for your water. You're saying we're
Yeah.
paying for everybody's
Well,
water.
And it's not just a moneymaker, it's also to protect those residents. In fact, the one ordinance that was introduced tonight was about lead paint inspection in rental units, specifically passed by the state. So, you know, I encourage residents to come forth and say, wait a second, I see 2 mailboxes over here now. Or there's a lot more cars here than there ever used to be.
Excellent. Well, as a taxpayer, I appreciate that, and I
we
thank
need to
you for
crack
that.
down on that, and I think that's part of the solution. I think right now we have close to 3,000 electric meters.
Okay.
So if you consider that versus the 2,600 water meters,
So a little
they
bit getting there.
should be
It should be
relatively
equal,
the same.
of course, if not more. And then one last comment on the water, and I know I don't have to tell any of you this. I spent a fortune on my water sewer. I have less people in my family now, thanks to colleges and adults moving out, yet my water sewer was still high. Can't figure that out. But with that said, I'm also spending between $100 and $200 a month on my bottled water so we can drink, because we do not drink Milltown water. And that is a disgrace. That is really a problem.
You can stay there if you'd like. The first time that I ran was 2 years ago. And the first time I spoke here was because the person who I was running against wanted to thank council for the beautiful Main Street. And I thought, next time I came up here, that I have to challenge that. I think Milltown is beautiful, especially if you go up north on Main, but south.
I would agree with north, it's south. I live right in center, so.
But the thing is, and I feel for you and everyone else also that has the same situation, that there's not a lot we can do. And I said it when I spoke that night, that everyone up here does care about what you see. They care about what you see on Ford Avenue because it's the elephant in the room.
Yes.
And generations of people have lived to have to keep an eye closed when they go past there, which is a disgrace. But then you have across from Colthall also. But we're challenged because there are things that we can't do, that the state sets for the owners. So maybe you can go after them if they have an unruly lawn in certain areas, but you can't make them do anything. You can't make them build when they have an area that they've made vacant.
But there was a house that imploded, and its
Sure.
base is still there. Like, it almost looks like it's,
Sure, but
crawl space is still there. How can that be safe?
But we can't make them build a house.
You can't make them build it, you can make them keep it clean,
Yes.
mow,
That's why
and
we have-
make it look presentable, plant some flowers, I mean,
Well, that's why we have the code enforcement person.
Yes.
And he's doing a very good job, but he's only one person.
and I'm sure it
even
takes
though-
time if he just started.
Sure, and even though it's a small town, like you noticed, with the single-family homes, the large homes that are now subdivided. And so he's got a big job ahead of him. So please trust us that we'll get to these things.
Well, I appreciate that, and
Sure.
that's what I wanted to
Sure.
say. Thank you.
Just
But also, we live here.
I know you do.
Just
I
like
know you do. Many of you are my neighbors. I
Sure.
understand that.
Would we spend $30,000 on the planner, South Main Street redevelopment plan last year? What did we get for it?
I didn't know you had that, so,
Yeah, we had it over at the senior center last
okay.
year, and we spent like $30,000 on a planner, and
It's still the same.
things haven't changed, yeah.
Right, right.
I've got a question. You don't have to keep standing. Don't worry. You're free to
Thank
go.
you. Thank you so much.
For our borough attorney, something to look into, because I thought this a few times. I wrote it down again, so it's a good memory jog. If you tear down a building, are we allowed to pass an ordinance in which if you tear down a building, you have, say, 3 months to either level it and make it grass or start new construction? Is there, because we've had houses in the past where a house caught fire on, I want to say it was Foch, and for months and months it sat with the basement collecting rainwater, and all the neighbors had to live with it until they came down here and started yelling, and finally, I guess the property owner decided to do something. But are we?
I mean, it may be more construction code, but I'll look into that for you.
Yeah, because if we need ordinances that have more teeth to them in order to make sure this town stays pretty or make it better, then I'm all for that. So.
Mr. Vignola, can't that be a planning board requirement? Like the two eyesores on Main Street and Ford Avenue, to where when they get knocked down, that's part of the requirements of the owner of knocking it down, they have to cart off the...
I think Ford Avenue is a bit of an anomaly, so I don't know that that's a...
That's a new one, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand. And like I said, I can check into the regulations regarding that and then see if there's anything we can do about it to strengthen those.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
John Judgetts, 8 Center Street. I'm revisiting an issue from last meeting. Speaking about the property between 8 Center and 4 Center Street that they're proposing to put a house there. They subdivided it. It was approved back in 2020. With that, they were supposed to put a drainage system in, which got knocked down. And just recently, a for sale sign went up that the property was approved, subdivided, and the revised information I just received, I had requested it about almost a week ago, I guess. I just received it this afternoon. And it says that this issue was, this change was accepted April 5th of this year. Do I understand that we have 45 days to appeal a revised issue?
Sir, I can't give you legal counsel regarding...
Okay, I'm just wondering because it's ironic that it was approved at that time and then 45 days or more later, a sign goes up in the ground that the property is for sale. None of the neighbors received any type of letter that it was approved and this is what was going to go through. The list I received here, in any case, what my problem is my water issue. I have 6 pilasters, I explained last meeting, that are holding up my basement walls, okay, because of the water pressure. Okay, now if they want to put a house up, is that pressure going to be increased now with this change? I understand they said they're going to put a retaining wall up. How deep, do you know how deep that wall is going to go into the ground? That would stop hydraulic pressure against my house? Okay.
The retaining wall, generally, the foundation is about 30 inches down below the frost line.
Okay. Well, my basement is lower than that. Okay. And they're also proposing a dry well in the back of the property, which does me no good because I'm on the beginning end of that slope. So I don't see where that would help me. So what, was I supposed to receive a letter
My understanding
of
is
the
that
revision?
This is a subdivision application that was approved, I think, in September of 2020.
Yeah, but it was revised.
No, but
just recently.
the subdivision had a condition that made the stormwater obligation to the satisfaction of the board engineer. So the planning board at the time of the approval decided that, my understanding is a number of residents were out. I know where you live because I live on the corner of Wilson and Washington. So, so the board decided that it would delegate the stormwater issue to its engineer. There was a design. That design, I believe, incorporated a pipe that would have run from this property on down to Janet into the stormwater management system that's in the street there.
Right.
But the property owner couldn't get the easement necessary to do that, so came back with a revised plan. Those plans weren't something that additional notice needed to be provided for. Those plans were something that the applicant was required to work out with the board engineer to their satisfaction to make sure the board engineer determined that this adequately addressed the stormwater issues associated with this development.
Yeah, but I don't think it does. A dry well in the back of their property.
I'm not an engineer, so.
Does not help me with.
If I may add.
Yeah.
The borough's law, your ordinances do not require that it be piped. There's no requirement in your ordinances says that the property owner had to pipe that drainage. However, we suggested strongly to him that he put the pipe in. He was very willing. He has an approved plan that we were comfortable with, but unfortunately, he can't get the easement from the property owner downstream.
Right.
So he then elected to comply with your ordinance, which allows these type systems. This is not CME or the engineer approving. Your ordinances allow these type of installations, encourage them, actually. That's what happened. So when we had no choice but to sign off, his plan complies with your laws, your ordinances. Nothing to do with engineering decisions. This is a review that we did that says it allows it to be done. I think he would still probably put the pipe in if he could, someone could get the homeowner downstream to agree to it. But unfortunately, that's where the problem is. There was nothing compelling in that resolution that forced him to put a drainage pipe in, but we did convince him to do it, but he can't get the easement. Otherwise, that drainage would be piped. We believe that would be the best thing to pipe it, but you can't force him to get an easement. He has no way to grab an easement from a homeowner downstream.
Yeah, but this new fix is not gonna help me.
I understand.
Okay? Nor is a retaining wall 30 inches down.
The answer, I can't tell you whether or not there's any impact to your property from this application or this construction. That's something that a full analysis by your own engineer would have to be done. I have concern for you. I wish that we could have got the pipe in, but I can't find a way to go. I even went to the homeowner's house downstream to try and convince them to allow us to get the easement. They won't even answer the door.
Right.
As you know.
Yeah.
What, is it worth it to go to the planning board meeting?
Certainly, I don't see a problem with that, but there's not much anything we can do. The planning board approved an application to put drainage in accordance with your ordinance.
Can that be revisited though?
The only way, you see, the problem is that there's no easement downstream to punch the pipe out to the road.
Sure.
So somewhere you'd have to go through and get the homeowner downstream to agree to put the easement in. And then I said, I even went to the guy's house. I don't normally do that, but just because of frustration, because this is the right thing to do.
What about just running into the street in the front, down center? That's a pretty steep slope street.
If you're bucking grade, you'd be very deep at the point you go through to the street and then down.
If you look at that property that's for sale now, the curbing in front of it is undermined, that it's buckling in each side. There's not one catch basin in our street on either side.
You'd have to go all the way down to Janet. That's right.
Yeah, But the fact that the curbing is buckling down at that point where the property is for sale is also an issue, bringing more water in.
Understand that. I can't disagree with you, sir. I wish I could find a way.
I went to John's house, and I'd like to help him if I can. Is there anything that I can do to help him?
It's a complex problem because the developer, the homeowner, existing homeowner, has no condemnation rights to condemn an easement.
Sure.
It's just one of those things. I might add that the drainage coming from one residential house is not, you're not gonna get, inundated with a major storm and a flooding, but there is some increase in impervious area. We had all the impervious increase that we get piped to the street, we have for leader drains, we've done everything we can short of getting the pipe in. As I said, the property owner who's existing resident in Milltown is willing to put the pipe in. The problem is you just can't get the easement.
Yeah.
And the plan that was approved complies with your laws in town, not what CME or what I said. It was your laws in town. Your elected officials have approved those, and that they're mandated by the state of New Jersey, actually, so it's not really wrong down.
Understand that the pilasters that are holding my walls back only fixed my house problem. The water problem, the pressure problem is still out there. Throwing a house up is only going to increase the pressure of water coming around me.
I can't argue, sir. I'm sympathetic to your problem. I wish I could find a way.
Well, if there's damage to my house, what's going to happen then?
I can't give you legal advice.
Yeah.
I'm the engineers. I give you some engineering information, but not legal advice.
On a side note, though, this issue was approved, back in 2020. According to the minutes, the ordinance, or whatever there, each lot was required 10,000 square. Right? By subdividing this, it's now 7,500. Okay. These people all spoke about how they want the old Milltown looked, and the historic, every beautiful way Milltown looks now. They're squeezing a house, basically squeezing a house in between us. Are they going to start doing this all over town, where they see a lot that they're going to disagree with, disregard the 10,000 square, and approve a smaller section and squeeze another house in? My neighborhood, all the houses, Center Street, Howard, Janet, they're all 100 by 100 lots. This approval back in 2020 was based on them talking about all the houses on Wilson Avenue, which are stacked side by side, close together. My neighborhood is not like that, and I think aside from the water issue, it should stay like that. And that's what I got. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more comments, so I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. Council comments. Is there anything further that anyone on council would like to bring up at this time?
You guys going?
Whoever wants to go first does.
Go ahead, Frank.
So I'd like to ask the help of the town, because I'm a little upset that as a person who lives here, if I wasn't on this side of the table tonight, I would probably be on that side. And I would have had some things to say. And I think that this is not a planned speech, so forgive me if I wander a little bit. But I kind of agree that I think we need to fix the water issue for our water utility. Let's talk about that first. And we all have email addresses listed on the website. And as a town, I think you guys have a responsibility to hold us responsible. As we're saying, we're going to change some changes. And I like the idea of temporary. Temporary, like this is a stopgap, but we're going to fix it. You should try reminding us, perhaps if you don't hear a plan coming up in a month or two, maybe you should send a reminder. I do think that I notice a lot of meetings in town, and a lot of the things that we all complain about, they don't have a lot of people at those meetings. They have it when something big is going through, but on the day-to-day, we need more people going to a planning board meeting, expressing an interest overall, a Board of Ed meeting, any of these meetings, even these. We get a lot of them, and, a little infuriating action brings out a lot of people. But a little, there's a lot of things in this town that need to be done, and if no one's there to press upon them, it's hard to take action. The council can't control a planning board, but I do think from where I sat at home over the last 12 years, I do think that it seemed to me that a disproportionate amount of things got approved. And I just don't know how we deal with that. I don't know that yet. I don't have answers for that yet. But these points are valid. But I do think that as a town, I think the ire and anger of a town is very useful if it is purposely directed. If people go to these meetings, if people, emails are a little lazy, nothing works like a letter, but it's a start. And some of those things I think we can do as a town, and you have to kind of mandate it from your house, from where you go with that, and you can drive what your council does, and you can even empower them to be able to apply pressure by whoever is at that meeting, and if there's enough discourse, it travels up the pipe. We always will try. That's why we're here. But, we do need some help, and also I think making sure that people hold us to what their goal is and force changes. If this, if there was ire at every meeting, I do think that if that had started 2 years ago, 10 years ago, we would be in a different position today. So I thank everyone who spoke, and I do think we hear everything you say. A lot of eloquent things were said. Don't forget about tonight, because I remember those same 10%, 30%, and I remember hearing that there was going to be a solution, and there wasn't, and there still hasn't been. And that's some of the things that, it's why there are a few new people here, because someone said, what are we doing? So please, do your best to hold us accountable. And if we can't do it, if I can't do it, make sure you hold the next guy accountable. Make sure you hold the guy beyond that. Please. I live here too, so I could use a solution. Beyond that, thank you.
Okay, I have a couple things to say. The one is, it's about the estimated tax bill with a 4% rise as it appears right now. A lot of people were discussing this, especially on a site called Milltown for All. And I expected to see a lot of those people here tonight, considering what they had to say about us. And one person who runs the site, I won't name his name, but he's already left. I was wishing he would be here so I could have a discussion with him. What I'm going to say, though, is the real tax increase may be 2%. The estimate is higher to be on the safe side. What is added this quarter will be subtracted for the next. You're not going to be overcharged. A disclaimer could have gone out with this. Maybe it should have gone out with this. It would have calmed a lot of taxpayers. Everything has gone up in town. The salaries, fuel, vehicles, attorney's fees, materials, but especially your school taxes. They've gone up 2%, despite getting a huge jump in state taxpayer help of 37.1% over what they got last year. Schools received $18 million of your taxpayer dollars last year, over 66% of your taxpayer dollars go to the schools. They also received from you $2 million for transportation costs. Considering the huge increase in taxpayer funding this year, you may want to ask your school board members why they voted to increase the 2% ask of you Milltown homeowners. The increase they are getting from you is $360,000. Start going to Board of Education meetings. I appreciate that people come here and speak tonight. I really do. But please go to the Board of Education meetings. 66% of your tax dollars go there. We get approximately 20%, and we do as much as we can with that 20%. But 66% goes over there, and they're not accountable to anyone. I've spoken there. They have no respect when I speak. So that's all I'll say about that. And I'm going to bring up about, we had an election, primary last week. And what I'm going to bring up, I'm very disappointed that the political party that I ran with last year, the Republicans, did not have a candidate. And this isn't about Rich. This is that people don't decide to run for office. I ran 2 years ago for the first time. Last year I ran again. I never wanted to do this. I'm still not sure if I made the right decision. But I proudly ran last year. And I'm thankful to the voters who selected me to represent them, their families, and their interests. I'm here to represent them and all the people in Milltown, young and old. I too am disappointed that another person with similar principles will not be joining me on the dais. Each side in town has constituents, and although each individual wants their say, they elect a person who they believe shares their values. Thank you.
Dave, you want to go?
Go ahead, John.
Hey, you always leave on a happy note. I'd just like to say there's this, talk about selling the water utility. The problem is there's no buyers. I mean, people say, sell the electric. They spent $3,000 or something in advertisements. They couldn't get one buyer. It's like we're in a jam here with this. And there's no buyers. Nobody's going to come up to Milltown and say, yeah, I'll buy your electric, no, your water company. Nobody's knocking on the door. If we advertise it, they'll look at our system and say, the cost of capital to put in compared to the long-term payout, it's just not there. So it's an idea that we could sell it, but we don't have a buyer. And if you're selling something in a garage sale and nobody's buying it, it goes back in your garage. So, but I just want to say, the best part of this job is helping people, and the worst part is having to ask for more money from them. And this is it's not a good thing, but not much we can do. Thank you.
But I also want to repeat what John said. It wasn't enjoyable to talk about increasing the rates tonight for the water, and I can assure you that I will not sleep well tonight.
No.
Yep, I'm good.
All right, well, I'll bring up a little congratulatory 3 hours ago to Kathy Beardsley, well-deserved proclamation, and also to our Milltown Fire Department Award recipients. And also, would like to thank everybody who's come down here and voiced their concerns. Your voices are being heard, and at home as well. So we really appreciate it, and we will do what we can to do what's right for the town. Thank you.
Two quick comments from me. Number one, about a couple years ago, we decided to discuss with New Jersey American Water and Middlesex Water Company, both of whom seemed interested in purchasing the borough's water system. The problem we run into, and this is a legitimate problem, is that our sewage flow goes through New Brunswick. And as I stated earlier, they bill us based on how much water we buy. And if we're not buying water from them, they're just going to put a meter on our sewer system. So unless we build a $20 million force main out directly to Middlesex County, or Middlesex Water Company or New Jersey American want to buy both our water and sewer infrastructure, that's the only other solution. My second comment, I know Councilman Manco is an avid kayaker, and I had the opportunity to spend a rainy Sunday morning rowing all the way down to Route 18 with him, enjoying a little bit of Milltown. So if you got a boat and you want to get out there, wear a life vest, have some fun. The weather's terrific out there. So that's it.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Collins, seconded by Councilman Potter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you.
I always wait for John. John loves doing that.
All right, who's gonna